What is up, RotoGrinders? Happy Monday. Right now, the start of 2+ hours nonstop MLB DFS conversation, taking you all the way up. It's a lock. I'll have the first pitch. It'll be at 7:10. 7:10. Crunch time coming in here around 6:15 or so. I see one of the participants in Crunch time is hanging out in chat. That's TastefulTides Tim. 1/3 of the the show's gonna be unleashed tomorrow. Myself, Tim, and Bobby, the People's Show. But today we got Keith Eister, as well as Kirkwood, leader of the Juggalos, Juggalo Nation. We're talking a little bit of a pre-show MMA. That's why we're a minute or so late. Our apologies. Like, things did not go well this weekend, but hey, we're going to get it back today, right, Kirkwood? As far as baseball,
I think. Am I coming through? I'm having internet issues.
You sound just fine to me. I don't know if you're having issues or not. Should I throw it to Keith and just?
I'm frozen. Yeah, throw it to Keith.
Steve says you're going in just fine for what it's worth, but maybe you can sort of sort that out with producer Steve. Welcome back to producer Steve. But we've not it's been a week or so since he's been kind of on vacation. So welcome Steve back. Shout out to TJ and Devin for filling in. It's also it's a movie Monday. The people love a movie Monday. Get excited about movie Monday. We might as well knock that out. Get the first clue out of the way. You guys know how this works at this point. It's been like 4 months or so if you're not aware. 5 individual clues. They're going to be dropped periodically to every 10 minutes or so, give or take. Tell me what movie we're talking about. You get one guess per clue drop. Where do you answer? In the Discord. RotoGrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. You get it right, you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. And clue number 1, and now Keith, don't answer if you know it. Just we want to keep the game. We want to keep it honest. Clue number 1 is fiction. Fiction is clue number 1. What's up, Keith? Happy Monday. How are things in your world?
Yeah, happy Monday to you as well, Dean. Slow weekend for once for me. First time I didn't have some sort of basketball projection in like 10 months since like last October. WNBA on the Olympic break and summer league over now, so finally no basketball projections on a weekend. So nice slow weekend. Had more time to build MMA lineups. Unfortunately, did not work out near as well as last weekend. It was a tough card, but we move on. Like you said, we can get it all back on baseball tonight.
I had some kind of challenge from DraftKings where they're like, yeah, if you just play some golf, you play some baseball, you make a deposit, you play some MMA, we'll give you a bonus. So I did dabble in the MMA streets this weekend for the first time in a while, and I got like 60 or 70% back, which might be better than most people, I think, because it did sound like a bloodbath for a lot. And well, the other thing is, like, they were fighting. It's the way the schedule goes. I guess everything is based upon, East Coast time, America time. America just kind of rules it. And they're fighting over there in London, I believe, right there in England. And so the main event went on like at 5 o'clock in the morning, which feels like it could be a safety issue, but I don't know. Probably some people in the crowd a little bit thirsty, but so that was, you think that affected it? Because it has to throw off something as far as training. Was that part of the analysis going into the fights, or am I just making something up?
I mean, I think it definitely played a factor, but it's so hard to quantify like who it's going to affect and things like that. Like, some guys were probably already over there. Anybody that flew over, like, anytime it's an overseas card, there's always that to take into account. But how do you quantify it, right? Like, who's it going to affect and who is it not? So can't really do anything with it from a DFS perspective, but I do think it definitely factors in.
All right. Kirkwood, you're back with us. Say hello.
Yeah.
I believe you were fine before. I think you were fine, but how do you sound now? Do you feel like everything is good? He might have just froze on us now.
Now he's not fine. Yep.
he was. I thought he was good before, but now he just froze. We'll periodically check back, but hopefully we can get Kirkwood to come back in. Otherwise, it's going to be a really intimate show. Myself and Keith. Oh, here he is. Kirkwood, what's up, dude? Are you with us?
I think I'm better now. Everything look okay. I'm not like choppy, frozen.
You sound different. I don't know if you changed your.
I got it. Okay, I got it. Yeah, that's because 1 second.
It goes back to the defaults. That might have been what happened, but all right. And if you want to take a second, by all means, figure it out with producer Steve. But he's saying it's coming together. So maybe you'll give it a second, and we'll be good to go as the show progresses. We're here for like an hour and 10 minutes or so. You guys got Tim, TastefulTides. You have TJ Zwarych, and you also have Kevin Roth. Like Roth did downgrade. There was a weather issue earlier with Cincinnati, and now it's just straight yellow. So it looks like a little bit more positive. No, I should say upgrade, because I think it was like yellow red before. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat for the people. You read that at your own leisure. Nothing that I don't think, Keith, we're just going to assume the games are playing, right? It's straight yellow now in Cincinnati. Everything else, green, yellow for St. Louis, yellow, green for Chicago. We're going to assume every game plays, correct?
Yeah, I was definitely concerned about Cincinnati earlier in the day. I believe it was straight orange when he first rolled the forecast out. So upgraded to yellow, a very positive update in his written content there as well. So Cincinnati feels a lot better than it did a few hours ago, and I'm not really concerned about anything else. So yeah, I agree with that. Let's just pretend everything's going to play.
Trade deadline still going on. I think it's till the 30th, the 31st. It's either tomorrow or the next day. I don't recall, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We saw not on our slate, but Jack Flaherty had his start halted. There's no reason to throw him out there if he's going to get traded the next day or two. There's no upside in that for Detroit. Christopher Morel trade was so weird. I want to get your thoughts on this, Keith. You're a Cub fan, and it was odd that the Cubs are trading for Paredes, and it's like because they're like the 3rd or 4th worst team in the National League record-wise. But I guess that was a deal where they're thinking like not this year, but like 2-3 years down the road. There was other pieces involved too. I'm surprised they gave up a Morel because they had I think the next couple of years. I'm pretty sure he was under control, but I think Paredes is as well. I think both those guys are basically under control. I'm curious your thoughts as far as that as a Cubs fan and just the trades in general. Jazz going to New York. Anything out there catching your eye?
Yeah, the Cubs trade was definitely a weird one, very unexpected. Morel just has not been able to figure out how to play third base, which is basically the only position open on the Cubs for him. He's blocked at second. Obviously, he's blocked in center field, which are probably his 2 best defensive positions. And even if they end up moving Nico Horner in a deal, one of their best prospects is a second baseman as well. So I think he needs to be playing second base if he's playing the field. Otherwise, he's probably a pure DH. So they gave up on the third base experiment, and they were looking to fill third base for next season. I don't think it had anything to do with buying talent for this year or thinking that Paredes is even. I think they're probably equal hitters. It's just Paredes' ability to play third base is really what attracted the Cubs to that deal, I think. But yeah, definitely a move for the future. They both have several years of control beyond this season. I thought the Jazz move was a really sharp move for the Yankees. If they end up getting Flaherty too, that's 2 really good additions there for New York. My mind's a little scrambled now from doing content all day. What else went down that I'm missing here? There were a couple minor.
I just like Jazz's personality, like can really shine in New York. If like the bat catches up, the fans can really get behind him. I think it's a fun landing spot for him. I kind of wanted him to go to Kansas City because I just thought like they could use somebody. Like I've had enough of Adam Frazier and Massey. I'm not really sure how real he is. Tommy Edman was traded. Eric Fetty was traded. The Dodgers got I think the Dodgers got Tommy Edman, right? Because I've been saying this all year. There's no way the Dodgers are playing meaningful games and Chris Taylor's getting rolled out there. Like I can't imagine. I wouldn't think so. But I guess we're still waiting for some stuff to fall, of course. Let's see. Oh, Lorenzen went to Kansas City. That's really a nothing trade. I don't know. Lorenzen.
None of the other big names have really fallen. Like all the rest of the stuff is pretty minor stuff. The Flaherty news would be a big deal. If Skubal ends up getting moved, that'd be huge. And then obviously Garrett Crochet, the other one that's kind of the big name that would be impactful out there.
Yeah, I don't think Skubal gets moved. Like Detroit doesn't have to move him. They have to have their socks blown off or whatever that term would be, right? Yeah. I think you have to really floor him to get him to trade Skubal because they have control for the next couple of years. And I don't know. It would. I mean, I would imagine like Baltimore has been thrown out there. They have the prospects for it, but how much do they actually want to give up? Kirkwood, we're giving it another shot. You look good. How do you sound?
See, I'm still like delayed over here on my part, but yeah, not.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think you're. I don't know. Maybe it kind of takes a minute or so to catch up. Maybe stick around and see if everything just kind of lines up in the next minute or so, and we'll check back in. But I think you're fine. Let's see what producer Steve has to say about it. He says you're fine on his end, so I think we're good.
I'll stay here like this. All right, let's go. You sure that's fine?
I think we're good. Let's see what the chat.
Okay,
sounds good to me.
Let's go.
We have an 8-gamer, so we still have plenty of time to talk about this slate. An 8-gamer, very, very clearly one top pitcher, all by himself in his own tier. Paul Skeens, arguably the best pitcher in baseball, on a slate where there's really nobody there to challenge him. Of course, goofy things happen all the time, but he's clearly the best option. Taking on a Houston team that, they don't strike out a ton, but still, it's Paul Skeens. And who else are you going to play? 54% ownership currently for Skeens on DK, 41% for Pivetta, which I think is the more interesting conversation. Obviously, he's facing Seattle. They did get Justin Turner today. Justin Turner was removed from the game, and he went to he's not playing tonight, obviously, for Seattle, but he's going to be on that Seattle team, as well as the addition of Randy Arozarena. So their offense is getting better. But Pivetta, 41% owned. He's a guy that can't give up homers, fly balls. Seattle's pretty cheap. I think that's a really interesting conversation we'll have. But Skeens to me is like so much better than Pivetta. Ownership-wise, 54%, 41%. And then it kind of thins out a bunch of guys in the teens. Gilbert, Blas, Eovaldi, Marsh, Colin Ray, Quintana. Not much else. It gets pretty ugly pretty fast. And then we have a 4K guy who looks like Eastbound and Down, right? If you've seen the picture, it's pretty spectacular. It really is awesome. But I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that as well. Like the 4K pitcher for Atlanta, maybe he'll throw 60, 65, 70 pitches. Who knows? Probably not much more than that, possibly less. But he is 4K. I have some thoughts on that, but I want to get yours first, Keith. Tell me as far as the screenshot of the slate, and then feel free to dive in and talk about pitching.
Yeah, overall, it's Paul Skeens, and then do whatever else you want at pitching. Pivetta ownership is definitely a talking point. We'll get into that. There's some really high upside facing the Mariners, obviously, but the Mariners do get the ballpark upgrade against the fly ball pitcher in Fenway Park. So that's a very interesting matchup that I think is going to be a big deciding factor in how this slate plays out. Offenses is kind of just all bundled together. I'd like there's 2 team totals over 5, Kansas City and Arizona. And after that, it's a whole mess of who knows what. Just pick your favorite offenses after that, really. It's nice that we do get the Cincinnati and Chicago bats playing there in Great American. There was some pretty big weather risk early on. Looks like that's faded away a little bit, according to Roth. So that becomes a pretty interesting game to me that I was thinking I was going to have to X out. So that adds a little bit of intrigue to the offense, but it's still really close together. After I would say the Royals are clearly on top for me, Arizona close behind. At pitching, it's Skeens. Like, he's the best pitcher in baseball. I think it's a massive ownership number, but you kind of just gotta go over the field on this really weak pitching slate. Nobody behind him outside of Pivetta has massive upside, I would say. Like Gilbert and Eovaldi are both really good real life pitchers. I don't love either of the matchups for them, and they're not huge strikeout guys either. So trying to get one of those guys to outscore Skeens seems like a fool's errand. I will just go overweight on Skeens. The Pivetta conversation is much more difficult because there's absolutely a world where I could see him striking out 10. I could also see him giving up a couple of home runs. So very interesting decisions there. And then
we're doing both.
Holmes. What's that? We are doing both.
We're
playing Nick Pivetta, and then we're stacking against Nick Pivetta, or at the very minimum, hunting home runs against Nick Pivetta.
In the same lineup, I'm saying. It's not completely bonkers. Not fully, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, one, I wouldn't mind. I definitely wouldn't do like a 3-man or anything on an 8-game slate. If it was a 4-game slate, I think there'd be some merit to that. But on an 8-game slate, I think I avoid that. I would max 1 against my pitcher.
Yeah.
Alec Marsh is an interesting conversation because of the matchup. It's pretty ugly in the mid-range beyond that. And for that reason, that's why I think Grant Holmes is so much in play. Pitch count is very iffy. 52 pitches in his last outing. Do not believe he's made a start this season. In the big leagues, that is. He was starting in AAA a little bit. Had a big K rate in AAA. Is a formerly big-time prospect who's kind of post-hype and has bounced around a little bit from team to team. don't really know what he is at this point. Most of his work in the big leagues has come out of the bullpen, but he's 4K. It's not a great matchup against Milwaukee, but he lets you do pretty much whatever you want with the bats. So, and there's no pitcher between. I'll throw Alec Marsh in there, very much in play, but between 7,700 and below, there's not a pitcher that I like more than Grant Holmes. So why not just save the money and go down to Grant Holmes? Is my take on it.
You can have two arguments, and they both got to make sense. Is that, yeah, the argument like you're saying is you're not missing out on anybody. The rest of the pitchers are not spectacular, so you might as well spend all the way down at the 4K. We're projecting 68, 69 pitches or so, but that seems like it seems a little ambitious to me. I don't know. I think I would take the under on that. But even if he shows like if he throws 60 or 65 and he goes 4-ish, he gets like 10 points, which is basically his projection on DK. That certainly works. But the other part of it is, Keith, and we'll talk about this later. What hitters do you want on this slate? What hitter outside of like Bobby Witt, right? And like maybe a different shortstop, and you can only roster one shortstop, right? So like, there's no Judge, there's no Ohtani. Just look at the hitters. Like there's only one team, I believe there's only one team that barely has a total above 5. So like we're opening up all his salary for what? For what do we actually need? What do we actually want? Is there anything you're actually afraid of? Like, oh, there's no 7 total in cores where it's like, oh man, I would love to just fully stack this team in cores. They have a 7 total, and this guy helps me get there. So both arguments I think are there, and I get both routes, and I'm probably going to play both routes. But yeah,
I do think
we'll get there as far as stacks. Yeah,
I think you need to be a little careful with construction, because obviously if you're playing Holmes, it's going to be to get up to Skeens is going to be your next move. Yep. And then you're playing Bobby Witt and Sal Perez, or you're playing Kevin Marte and Christian Walker.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be really chalky, that build. So you'll definitely need to make sure you're differentiating somewhere in the lineup. Like make sure your one-offs are not super chalky. And
maybe producer Steve can show. I found the side-by-side, by the way, Kenny Powers and this Grant character that's throwing baseballs for Atlanta. Check it out. Which one's which, Kirkwood? Who's in the left?
He's been coming out of the bullpen. I was like, when did the Braves get Kenny Powers? That's what I was saying.
And he's leaning in on it, right? He's got to be leaning in. Is this
Kenny
coincidence?
Kenny Effin Powers. This is just proof that we live in a simulation. That's what's going on here. If he starts, if I were him, I would definitely go, "You're effing out" after every.
You can do that as like a closer or as like a guy that comes up for 1 inning. You can't do that when you're pitching 4 innings. I don't think. I mean, I don't know. Your official thoughts here as far as pitching. I assume you have your one main lineup. You're going to play Skeens, and that's that. Be different elsewhere. Let somebody else be smarter.
I'm not playing Holmes. I just don't trust the pitch count whatsoever. I get it. Strikeout stuff is there. I think you can, as far as the numbers go, I would probably scale that back from his high leverage reliever role to a starting pitcher role. The numbers usually don't transfer well. So I don't know. I mean, you got Skeens, you got Pavetta, you got to worry about Chalk, you got Gilbert if you want him. I like Eovaldi. I think Marsh is fine. I think Simeon Woods could be okay. I don't know. I like my one lineup. I hate to say it, but I'm probably going to end up Skeens Pavetta, but I'm considering Eovaldi.
Yeah, and it's not hard. Like it's a double barrel, right? Because again, what sort of bats do you absolutely need today? You want to pay up for a premium shortstop probably, but otherwise, the stat. There's a lot of good games. I think there's better offenses on the slate before us. I think so.
I wouldn't listen to a word I said about pitcher though after Thorpe the other night, who was my favorite play of the season. Well, I did say, like, if the slider works, he's gonna crush. If it doesn't, it's over. And his slider did not work in my defense. It was gone completely. He couldn't throw it for a strike anywhere even close. And that was a brutal. That was Friday night, right? That was brutal. And I bubbled every contest that I was in with him. Literally the literal bubble with my minus 18.
That's impressive. That's actually pretty. You don't get anything for it, but that's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
I think it is. Cam the Man's asking about Pavetta's home road splits. Is that concerning to me? I'll ask Kirkwood because that's your team. You're familiar with the ballpark. You threaten to streak there all the time. Your thoughts as far as Pivetta and his home road splits? Do we care about this?
No, I don't care. I mean, we know it's not a great park in general. For pitchers, right? Like, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, it's basically, this is just a matchup dependent play. I mean, he was awful in cores. We're giving him, I'm completely giving him a pass there, but like, I don't know. He's not in the best place at the moment, but it's this weak Mariners lineup that strikes out a ton. Now, I do think that everybody's on board, and I know that Cheese wrote this in the article about taking like Cal Raleigh, even if you have Pivetta. And I know a lot of people are playing the $5 tonight on DraftKings, for max entry. So like, I would definitely make sure I think that's a good way tonight to play it, to put at least one batter against your pitcher is okay, and let that flow in. Tonight,
you say against your pitcher or Pivetta? Because I think Pivetta is the one like I
would say it against my pitcher in general, and like you probably won't even get it. You'll probably get it more with the Pivetta, but I mean that's up to you. But however you want to do that, but
yeah,
I think it's
kind of neutral.
It's 8 games, right? Like, so like we've got like really chalky pitching that's probably going to do well. So I think the pitching is going to probably do well. I'm on board with that. And then so you're going to get different with your bats or having to do something like get Kyle Raleigh to hit a home run off of your own pitcher.
Yeah, my thought coming into the slate, one of my bigger thoughts was I want to be over the field on Seattle and over the field on Pivetta. But if Pivetta is going to be 41% owned, I don't know if I want to be over 41%. I thought he'd be lower than that. But then you kind of make the point, Kirkwood, like it thins out really quick as far as options. Spend a little bit more for Gilbert in floor or whatever. Theoretically, he's got a stable floor, a little bit more expensive, but his ceiling is probably not as high as Pivetta. But like you mentioned, Eovaldi, he's fine. St. Louis did trade away Tommy Edman, pretty neutral as far as the ballpark. Marsh versus the White Sox. Tommy Pham got traded away from the White Sox.
He's coming home.
Else. Where did he go?
He's back to St. Louis.
That's right. Okay, because that was a 3-team deal. I couldn't remember which part went where. I think the Dodgers are also involved in that trade.
So now I bet you like he's not going to be able to see in day games in night games anymore too. Like it wasn't that was a thing when he was when he was in St. Louis.
I think that was a thing. He had not home road, but night day splits. I feel like
he couldn't see well. Supposedly.
Looks like Brian Reynolds is back tonight for Pittsburgh. I think that makes Pittsburgh a little bit more interesting. I was thinking earlier in the day he was going to play, but he wasn't projected. But now he looks like he's officially in against Jake Bloss. All right, and he went on the bereavement list, but before that, I think he was also scratched with his back. But I guess he is fine, good to go. No Cincy lineup just yet. No Washington. But it looks like we have everything else. I want to go ahead and drop clue number 2 for Movie Monday, but somebody already got it. Unbelievable. Somebody binked it. Somebody got a hold one. We'll just go ahead and play this for fun now. But I thought I was a little bit afraid I made it too easy, but we'll still play it. We'll still play it out for fun. Clue number 2 is horse, fiction, and horse. There you go. And it's not, Kirkwood, I don't know if you guessed the first time. I don't know if you were on air, but it's not what you think it is.
This really does sound like Brokeback Mountain.
It's not. I know you think it is, but it's definitely not. I assure you. All right.
Can I say one thing real quick to all my Red Sox fans out there? I just want to give a big congratulations for us winning the Quinn Priester sweepstakes. So things are looking up for this season now.
So you're being sarcastic, but like Pittsburgh has a history of trading away really good pitchers that are really bad for them, but really good once they leave. And he was also like a big time prospect. I think Keith would probably know this. Wasn't he like a top 20 guy at some point?
He was. I believe he was a first round pick. And at one time, I believe he was their best pitching prospect. And this wasn't very long, like 2 years ago, I'm talking.
Yeah. So like he might actually turn out to be good because that's what happens. It's like the reverse pumpkins. It's like reverse midnight when you get moved out of Pittsburgh. Garrett Cole got better. Glasnow got better. I'm sure There's other examples I can't think of off the top of my head. But I'm sure Pirates fans will tell you a couple more players. Who else you got?
Charlie Martin.
Yeah. There's another one. I forgot he was in the Pirates. How long ago was that? Feels like that's.
Wait, did you say Garrett Cole already?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they couldn't. Surprising they couldn't make Archer work when they had him.
That was
every pitcher. One. Every pitcher went to die in Pittsburgh. Whoever came over there, like they had Tyon. Like who was there? There was a bunch of talent at one. Talent at one point. And they just would get shelled every single game.
Yes, Tyon, by the way, theoretically might be in the trading block. I wouldn't, just kind of throwing it out there, so I wouldn't be shocked. I guess you would know this better than me, Keith. Isn't that a thing that his name's been floated?
Definitely a thing. He's not a guy they have to trade because he's under control for multiple years. But if they get a good offer on him, I think they would definitely move him. Is he interesting now that Ellie's not in that Cincinnati lineup? I know it's not a great ballpark and he's not a huge strikeout pitcher, but that Reds lineup I think is going to be pretty weak.
What is the percent chance he gets Justin Turner? He gets pulled in the middle of the game, like 3%. If he's pitching, those things can happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen or it's likely to happen, but it can.
I think it's probably like a less than 50% chance that he gets traded at all. So
okay,
I'm not too concerned about that. And I think if there was anything close at all, they would just they'd give him the Jack Flaherty treatment. They just push him back a day, see what happens. There's no reason they would throw him out there if something was imminent.
Let's see. India, Friedel, Steer, Candelario, Stevenson, Fraley, Marte, Benson, Espinal. Is De La Cruz hurt, or they're giving him a day? I don't think
just a day off. They said, yeah.
Okay, and that's gonna if you thought Bobby Witt's gonna be popular before, he's gonna be even more popular now. Makes for a really interesting fade in tournaments. Or there's some pivots, of course, at shortstop. Abrams. I don't know if Seager might be one of the first pivots as well, but okay. Yeah, well, you're running 40 lineups, right, Keith? So is Tyon? It's probably a question for you. Is Tyon in your pool?
He wasn't. I'm considering him now. I don't like the ballpark, obviously, and there was rain risk as well, which I'm still not 100% sure is clear. But if Roth gives it the all clear for pitchers and there's no chance of an in-game delay, I think I'm gonna grab a couple of shares.
By the way, Butto in chat's telling us, Joe Musgrove, also former Pirates, who got better getting out of there.
Yep.
Steve's telling us about AJ Burnett. AJ Burnett was best, of course, on Miami, and then I think he went to Boston afterwards. Did he go to Pittsburgh after that? I don't think he was good on Pittsburgh. Maybe I'm wrong. Was he good on Pittsburgh?
That was at the end of his career, though. He was on Pittsburgh for a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, but that was not the best. That was not the best you were getting of AJ Burnett. LA De La Cruz traded to the Astros, according to Brandon. Yeah, I'm guessing he was not traded. That would be shocking if that's what's happening. I can't imagine Cincinnati would do that. Marsh, just because he's facing Chicago, I think is probably my favorite cheapie. Oh, wait a second. Looks like Roth just updated the he's going back and forth here on us. He's flip-flopping. Yellow-orange with new news comes to the new report. So now we have yellow-orange in Cincinnati. He says it's a bit more raced against the clock-ish than I was hoping for. A storm line moves in around 10, 11 o'clock. My only concern here is that we will see a storm or two pop out ahead of that line. And if one fires over the ballpark and causes a delay, then we have to worry about the post-game storms becoming game-ending storms. Still think the likely outcome here is probably a dry 9, but I can see a route to be going poorly with a little bit bad luck. If I'm reading that right, maybe it's just like a shortened game. So, yeah, we'll see what Ross says. He'll be on about 45 minutes or so.
I don't think that affects Tyon at all. It's more harmful to
hitters.
The outlook for the hitters. Yeah.
I love Cincy too. They're out now. I'm giving them the boot.
The rain, De La Cruz gone. Like, come on.
I needed De La Cruz. You have to have De La Cruz. And they got rid of my boy. They got rid of my boy Reese Hines, the greatest starter since the Punisher.
Aristides Aquino. I was doing some mid-season best ball drafts on DK, and I could not believe Reese Hines was like the 80th player selected at ADP. That was like in the middle of him like hitting all his home runs. My rest of my teams probably aren't very good either, but that's one thing. I faded Hines. Like, this doesn't make any sense. All right. What else is going on? Do we miss anybody? I think it's just not a lot. But give me the summary here, Kirkwood. I assume you're playing Skeens. Who are you pairing them with? I know you threw out a couple names. By the way, I would upgrade Pittsburgh and downgrade Cincinnati with Reynolds coming back and Bloss, locked in for 9. He's had some homer issues as well in a small sample. Not really sure what we're going to get out of him. It's really, really goofy his homer in the fly ball. It's 11 innings, so not shocking. Almost a 4 homer per 9. A lot of fly balls too. And Pittsburgh's lineup getting a little bit better. They also sent down Sawinski. So he's not going to be in that lineup. But we already saw the lineup. He's not in it. Give me final thoughts here as far as pitchers, Kirkwood.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of love for many of them, so I'm just going to play chalky tonight and differentiate with my bats. And I'm definitely going to be I'm probably going to have Skeens, Pivetta, but I may switch Eovaldi in there for one of them. Other than that, I mean, you can play Logan Gilbert. The Red Sox will strike out, and their bats have been cooling off a little bit, kind of. Man, I could see like Tyon working now, but the weather there. Quintana would be fine, but I'm not playing him. And then it would be, if I really wanted to get different, I would probably just play Simeon Woods Richardson. But I'm not going to get different. So it's Skeens, Pivetta, Eovaldi, I'm between those 3. I don't think Alec Marsh is very good. I get the matchup with the White Sox.
Does he have to be? How good does he have to be is the question.
Yeah, I know. But like, seriously, you're getting Pivetta in a ceiling spot for 8,500. I know Chalk, we're supposed to, the ownership is going to get insane a little bit, but and what do you really think? What do you think he's going to come in at?
40%. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not hard to get. People are just going to pair those two.
To Kirk,
Keith, is that about right to you?
Yeah, I think 40% is about where he comes in. But Pivetta could literally give up like 4 or 5 runs and strike out 8 and still beat Alec Marsh. Like, that's a very fair point. Yeah.
Let's see. We have a refresh of ownership as of 10 minutes ago. Is Skeens 54%? Yeah, Pivetta 41, Gilbert 16, Bloss 14, Eovaldi. I didn't really get the Bloss at 14%. That doesn't make sense to me. He's not really on my radar. I would play Grant Holmes before, and I think you were kind of referencing that as well, Keith. We have Holmes at just 7%, which to me that sounds a little bit low. But again, the counterpoint is how much do we need him? Because there's not a ton of stuff to spend up on. But like he's kind of sort of basically the same as, more or less the same as like these Tyons and Woods Richardsons. His ceiling is probably not the same because he can only throw so many innings, so many pitches. But the other thought process is that none of these guys in that grouping is going to throw put up a 25 spot and strike out 8 or 9. K rates, Skeens in his own tier, 34.2%. Pivetta almost 30%, 29.5%. Then Gilbert, 25%. Then Eovaldi, 24%. Holmes at 23.6%, but that's also out of the bullpen, so probably gets lower if he's actually starting and throwing 3 to 4 innings. Jordan Montgomery, that was just a terrible signing. What a disaster! I guess that the whole process.
He's been hurt. He's been hurt though.
But even when he's throwing baseballs, he's been a disaster. Part of that might have been like his season, getting delayed, the not signing early. Him and Snell, that's the interesting one too, by the way. It doesn't affect us today, but there's talks of Snell possibly getting moved, and he struck out, I think, 14 or 15 Rockies. Shocker there, but really curious to see if he's on the move. Trade deadline looming. Final thoughts here, Keith, as far as pitchers.
I think Kirkwood broke it down really well. I have a little bit more interest in Alec Marsh than Kirkwood did, but it's matchup only. He does have a pretty decent strikeout rate. He's right around league average, 22%. And look, we don't need salary, so I'll just play more Alec Marsh than Woods Richardson. I could see Woods Richardson getting there, but I don't like the matchup against the Mets. It is a good ballpark to pitch in, but I feel like Grant Holmes is the same play. I was just looking a little bit deeper, and Dean, you mentioned it. He has pitched mostly out of the bullpen, so take it with a grain of salt. But swinging strike rate, 15.9% for Grant Holmes. He was a big strikeout guy in the minors. He has big stuff. He averages 95 on the fastball. I think there's upside here. And the fact that he has not started a game, I think he could go 70 pitches in this spot. So, he's the same play as Wiz Richardson to me, and he's 2,700 cheaper. So I'm going to have a decent amount of Grant Holmes. It might backfire. Maybe he only throws 45 pitches in 3 innings, and I'm stuck with 6 points, and I'll just have to live with that. But I do wish there was more to spend on the bats, but if that were the case, I think he would be more popular in this spot too.
Yeah. What we have right now as far as umpire data, I saw they were asking about it there in the chat. And this stuff, again, understand this stuff can change. Brand new series. Sometimes this is not accurate, but this is where we're at. 2 extreme hitters, as Kirkwood is talking about, 2 extreme hitters, pitchers. 1 for Paul Skeens. Oh, fade Paul Skeens. Colin Ray as well, Jake Bloss and Grant Holmes for the aforementioned Kenny Powers. Yeah, all right. So that's what we have as far as the extremes. We do want to talk about stacks. Do also want to throw out the third clue. Again, we're just kind of playing out the string because we did have somebody bink this. It'll all make sense in the end, and they didn't even need the rest of these clues. But clue number 3 is hay. Hay is an H-E-Y, not as in hay for horses. That will be fiction, horse, and hay are the first 3 clues. Tell us what movie we're talking about. And again, just playing out the string. Okay, stacks. Today's stack category was talking about this with the producer Steve and producer Devin. Devin kind of threw this one out, and it was funny because I was considering this idea as well. We are power ranking not offensive names to call people, so least offensive to most offensive. Chief, big guy, I don't know. Let me know in the chat. What is the most offensive, least offensive? You don't know somebody's name, or somebody you don't.
You got it, boss. Well. You got it, boss. Okay, Chief.
Boss is the worst. Boss is the worst.
These are all said to me. It's all bartenders who say this. That's what I really like when I'm buying. Hold up, 2 seconds, boss. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Is it better or worse if you're actually their boss? I'm trying to think because I don't know how that works, but either way, just don't call me boss. You don't have to call me anything. But you got anything here, Keith? We in on the what's the one that really grinds your gears that somebody might randomly call you?
I don't know if any particular one really grinds my gears, but they're all just kind of really, dude. Dude, maybe dudes in that bucket. Pal is definitely one for me. I agree with boss.
Pal, I like pal. I like that.
A lot of it's how it's delivered too, because it could be condescending, and it could be
a pat on the back. How you doing, pal? Something like that. It's
it depends who says pal. And it's kind of funny because we'll get to this list in a second. Because one, I find that could be really insulting, but one person who says it really in a not offensive, in a polite way. The chat is throwing out some options. Let's see, home slice. Oh, yo, homie. There you go. Dog. Dog. That's D-A, a big dog, and there's D-O-W-G, dog. But lots of options being thrown out there in the chat.
I see dipshit in chat, but that's really not part of it. This is casual conversation ones, because I would say jerk off, in New Jersey, okay, jerk off, or something like that,
So just to be clear, you see that in the chat. I see it in the chat. Keith sees that in the chat, but it was hidden. It had to be approved, and you just approved it verbally. That wasn't actually in the chat. All right. Let's go ahead and reveal our board. Yeah, somebody did say least offensive up top, most offensive at the bottom. And again, there's many options out there. But in honor of Dave Potts, nobody ever calls me jabroni. I don't know if you guys ever get randomly called a jabroni.
Nobody ever uses only in wrestling, watching it, or no one ever says that word, or it's always in Cheese's article now because he learned of the word. But I don't think I would be hard pressed for ever in my entire life if I had anyone call me a jabroni.
Yeah, I think the origin. I think you're right. The Rock I'm pretty sure he's credited with a coming up with the term. In wrestling, there are like the stars, and then there's the jobbers. The jobbers are the ones that like go out there just to lose and make the stars look good. And he basically called somebody jabroni, essentially implying that you're going to lose. You're going to go out there and you're going to lose. And I think that's the origin of the word jabroni. Next up is bro. Bro's perfectly fine. Bro, dude, I think that's perfectly fine. Again, depends on who's saying in the context, but like, as this list grows, somehow boss. Wait, hold on. Boss is not in the middle. We have bloke in the middle, right? I'm pretty sure that's what made the middle. I have to make this screen. Did it change?
Hey, sport is for kids. I got a new one to add.
What do you got?
No one. I don't think you guys agree with me that, but brudda, like okay, brudda, like something like that. I'm telling you,
that should be at the top or at the bottom.
That's fighting words around here.
Okay, maybe that's a regional thing. I don't know. Yeah. But okay, pal is super irritating. That producer Steve is writing. Did we have a late swap? I thought we had bloke in there. Maybe I just miswrote it and I wrote Boston. I made a mistake. But
I just pulled it right from our little chat. I don't think I got it wrong.
No, I think I goofed, and Boss should be lower. Boss should not get that praise, but I don't think it can't really bump out to Bud, because Bud is also like condescending. Hey, Bud. But Devin always says Bud. You guys probably talk to Devin. He always says Bud, and he means it in the nicest way. So he's the one person we'll make exception for. He gets away with it. But there you go.
I'll admit to using Bud a little. Like I'll say thanks, Bud, but like not in a condescending way by any means.
Yeah, for sure. It depends the source. That kind of
like
thing.
I think Bud and pal are very similar.
Context related. Yeah.
Joe is telling me that Bud is a hockey player talk. Is that hockey player talk? I'm not sure. I've listened to some hockey player stuff mic'd up, and maybe they do drop a Bud more often than I expect. There we go. We got sport at the bottom. Poindexter being thrown out there. That's in the chat. Okay.
Cuz? What about Cuz?
I think Cuz is generally positive. I think that's generally a positive thing. I think so. All right. So some more coming in through chat, some interesting options. Read that at your own leisure. Okay, we're going to power rank every single game based upon how much we like the stack. The very first game we're going to talk about, it's a 7-10 start, by the way, so plenty of time. Minnesota taking on the Mets, the Metropolitans. We have Woods Richardson versus Jose Quintana. We did not really talk about these pitchers a ton, but it's like one of those sort of like the pitching's not spectacular and the hitting's not spectacular. 8.5 total. True coin toss here. Keith, you're going to go first for us. 4.25 total on both sides. Trying to see if there's anything. The Minnesota against lefties, I'm always concerned with the pinch hit stuff, right? Like Margot, there's some risk. Austin Martin's got a really severe risk. Just sort of throwing that out there. I don't like when they start versus lefties for that reason. Most of the guys are stable, but Margot especially, and Martin, I think, is probably the biggest pinch hit risk possibly. Do you want to see what the bat says about that? But yeah, go ahead. What do you have for me, Keith, as far as the Twins and the Mets?
Yeah, I agree with you on the pinch hit stuff for Minnesota, and it's a big ballpark downgrade for them as well. I'm not afraid of Quintana by any means. I actually kind of like the spot for Royce Lewis and Buxton, and we have plenty of salary to work with to spend up on him if we're going to play some cheap pitching. I don't like the spot. I've got him right in the middle at boss. Quintana does a decent job of not getting blown up as well. You add in the ballpark factor, and they're just kind of middling for me today. And I'll say the same about the Mets. Like, they're a good offense. They're facing a mediocre pitcher, but I'm not really excited about the stack. I've got them in boss as well.
All right. Just pulled up Derek Carty's the bats. Margot 47%, Martin 36%. So yeah, those are the two obvious ones. Everyone's pretty clean. Kepler's at 10 for what it's worth, but they are starting him left on left, so I assume he sticks around all game. Any issues here, Kirk? Would we good with that? The Mets in Minnesota hanging out there with boss?
Listen, pal, what I like here is Minnesota offense.
Watch it, Chief.
Right? So Quintana is like he's boggles my mind how much better he's been. He's gotten a bit lucky if you look at the Sierra to the ERA. He's still on the slate. His home run per 9 is right up there towards the top on the slate. it's not a great ballpark, but the wind is blowing out to like a 10 mile per hour plus out to like left center. And I'm telling you, man, Minnesota is not the offense you want to mess with when they got these guys all the way Buxton's swinging the bat, Royce Lewis swinging the bat. Like you could play 1 through 5. I like a lot as a stat, and I don't think they're going to come in. I don't think they're on a night like tonight. I think they have like a big ceiling here on the road with these guys who punish left-handed pitching. So I like this stack. So I'll move them in the second to top tier, and I could potentially even put them in the top. But bro, I'll put them in bra.
I like the mini. I like the like Buxton, Lewis, Jeffers, like something like that. I don't know if I'm going to go full 5. It's sort of like I never really know. This is for stack purposes, and the presumption is it's a full stack. I don't know. Oh, did you get moved off your position at all, Keith? I'm kind of about back and forth because I like a mini Minnesota, and I kind of like a mini Mets too. A reverse splitsy out of Woods Richardson. I still believe in the power of Alonso. Lindor, we're looking for pivots to some degree at shortstop, I think. And I'm thinking about like single entry tournaments. Like I think Witt's going to be really, really popular in single entry. So, of course, Lindor can outscore him like very, very easily. They also said the flirter, Mr. Steal Your Girl, Jesse Winker, is now a Met. If you guys missed that. Are we budging here at all, Keith, or we're sticking with both in the middle?
I'm still lukewarm. Like I really like Royce Lewis and Byron Buxton, but the full stack is just, it's not doing it for me. I don't see Quintana getting blown up. He had one weird start where I think he gave up like 4 home runs recently, 2 starts ago or something like that. So like the home run to 9 is pretty inflated. I think like the last couple of years, he's been really good at limiting home runs. We've been waiting for the regression on Quintana ever since he started bouncing around a little bit. He landed with St. Louis and fixed something, started generating some soft contact, and has been a pretty solid starting pitcher since then. So I don't know. I like a lot of other spots, but I'm fine with Minnesota in Bro if you want to go that route.
We'll keep them both in the middle, but yeah, I think I'm interested in both to some degree as far as mini stacks. Let's move on to Seattle and Boston.
I got one more point. One more point to drive in also. The Mets bullpen is very homer prone as well.
Okay.
So if you're looking for upside, that's the reason. And so I'm cool with the mini too. So I'm fine there. It's probably preferred, to be honest with you, especially with the pinch hit risk from Margot. If there was a guy I would take, it would be Margot up front. But like 2 or 3 man is fine, is cool with me too. So now we can move on.
All right, Kirk, we're 2 of the more popular pitchers on the board. Pivetta, Gilbert, 8.5 total. We like picking on Seattle and their strikeout tendency. Pivetta also yields some homers too. I personally think I want to get over on Seattle, but I'm also interested in Pivetta. He can certainly be, I guess he could be the top pitcher in the slate. Sure, it's possible he can outscore Skeens, but he also can give up 3 or 4 homers. Where do you have Boston and the Mariners?
I'm team Pivetta tonight, so I get it would be for leverage to play Seattle, and I get that fully. So if you're grinding out the $5 or any of the mass entry, then obviously you're going to want some Seattle. But I'm gonna put them down. I'll put them where he has the Red Sox, and then I put the Sox up 1 to just the middle over there, and that's being generous, but nice ballpark. Gilbert, I know he's a good pitcher, but I think they could do some damage.
By chance is Boss Bro lurking in chat? We almost have Boss Bro together. We have Bro Boss. We don't have Bro, but just kind of looking at our board. Are we good with this board, Keith? We have Boston hanging out in the middle with Boss, and then Seattle all the way down with Bud.
I'm good with Boston there in the middle. Gilbert's a very good pitcher, but it is a massive ballpark downgrade for him going into Fenway. I certainly think he has potential to run into problems. So I'm good with taking a couple of Boston stacks. Seattle, I think, is the best leverage point on the slate. So I would have them up in Bro. I'm playing a lot more lineups than Kirkwood. Like in one lineup, it's hard to want to take a leverage stance. But when I'm building 40 lineups, I'm going to have 35 to 40% Pivetta and probably 20% Mariners stacks. Like I'm going to be way over the field on Mariners.
I'm thinking about playing the Mariners in my single entry team. Maybe not as my lead team, but as my second team. Because I think Pavetta's going to be really popular in single entry as like an SP2, the pairing of Pavetta and Skeens. That's sort of my thought process. So I'm with you. Let's put them up in bro.
I got another point to that too.
What do you got?
In your favor, the Red Sox bullpen has just been absolutely horrendous, and they've been missing like their two best guys that are still out, and they've been taxed to the nth degree with the Yankee series. So it wouldn't shock me if I'm not doing it, but I should like Seattle more than I do.
Slight bump according to Weather Edge, 11% bump in homers in a 155 game sample, 7% bump in runs. Slight bump for the Mets as far as homers, 10%, 20% as far as runs in a 50 game sample, 12-mile-per-hour winds, basically to dead center, left center. St. Louis, it's hot. It's going to be around 90 or so in the Lou. 22% bump in homers, 21% bump in runs. We'll get to that game in a second. Also a nice bump in Chicago for the White Sox, 19% bump in homers, 10% bump in runs, 102 game sample. Let's go ahead and drop the fourth clue, by the way. Just playing out the string for Movie Monday. 1 is fiction, 2 is horse, 2 is horse, 3 is hay, H-E-Y, and 4 is nonfiction. Fiction, horse, hay, nonfiction. Those are the 4 clues. You do have a winner already, but some people just like to play it out and guess away there in the chat. Next game up is the Cubs and Cincinnati. This is Keith's board, I believe. Carson Spears, or is it Spires? I don't know. I should know this. Against Jamison Tyon. It is Spires, right? Because I think his uncle was played in the league. It was named Spires. Yeah. So Carson Spires versus Jamison Tyon. What do you got, Keith, as far as the Cubs and the Reds? Good ballpark.
Yeah, so weather is playing a huge factor here. If there were no weather concerns, I think both of these offenses would be very much in play. But if we're only getting 7-8 innings out of them and we lose a plate appearance, it definitely dings the stack a little bit. So we'll wait and see what Roth has to say here when he comes on. If the weather is good and it looks like we're getting 9 full innings here, I think I like them both in bro just because of the ballpark. Both pitchers are fairly hittable. Neither one is a big strikeout guy, and it's a great ballpark for home runs. So on a slate where there's not a lot of things separating offenses as far as team totals and matchups and things like that, the ballpark is playing a huge factor here. So if we do get the all clear from Roth, I would have them up in bro, but I'm still going to be tuned in hearing what Roth has to say.
Got Peeps View telling us, over 500 watching. That's just on YouTube alone. Not even 100 likes. Yeah, that's gutless. It is gutless for sure. And it's also not strong because I know TJ's coming on later and Tim's coming on later. And when they come on, you're going to want those Spidey bombs right away. You're going to want Tim's taters right away. So let's get those likes up, not just for us, but for you, for the Spidey bombs, for the taters. All right, hit that like button. Also subscribe so you know when we go live. That's useful as well. All right, turn on those notifications. They'll let you know when we're going live. Typically 5 o'clock on a weekday for baseball. Ridiculously early on Sunday for football. Looking forward to that. A lot of football stuff trickling on through. Pay attention to football news. Every Friday, of course, we have the Stonk Watch show. If you guys are not aware of that, Kyle Murray, Jamino, they're on top of that talking about ADPs going up, going down. And the more camp news coming out, the more ADP stuff will be fluctuating. I saw Dowdle might not even be a lock to make the Cowboys 53. And that concerned me. Hopefully that's just like a beat writer being wrong, but I think I have too much Dowdle. But let's get back on track as far as power ranking our stacks. This is Kirkwood, Atlanta, Milwaukee, 8.5. The aforementioned Grant Holmes against Colin Ray. What do you got for me?
I just want to say, first of all, I saw you tweeting out some best ball drafts that you're doing. I just wanted to thank you for that, boss. All right.
Anytime, Chief.
Yeah. Appreciate that. I love the.
There's not enough people doing it. Like nobody else has thought. Like, you know what I should do? People want to know how I'm drafting. You know what I mean? And I wish there was another place where I can get more information on this. But I'm just there to for the people, because where else are you going to find such content? They're like, who are my first 5 picks in my random $20 best ball draft on DK? It's important.
All right, which game is this now?
Atlanta, Milwaukee.
Okay, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Okay. I kind of like Atlanta from an offensive perspective here tonight. And I think this game could be kind of like sneaky in general from each side because, Holmes not going that long. Atlanta's bullpen had been having troubles. Holmes was a big fact, like a big part of, on the good for their bullpen. So I would put Atlanta just because of the power upside. We're trying to, there's not a lot of ceiling here tonight. So we want any team that can hit some homers here. And Atlanta, even though they've struggled and they're missing a lot of their key guys, a lot of these guys can go yard. So Kelnick, Riley, Ozuna, Olsen, Sean Murphy, and if you need a cheaper guy, Duvall or Rosario, all these guys are in play for me for stacks. So I'll put Atlanta right in that bro. And
did you guys see? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Are you good? Did you put Milwaukee in too, or did producer Steve put him in two?
Steve's did. I think that's fine. I would probably put him in boss personally, but I'd have Atlanta bro, Milwaukee boss, but I'm fine either way. Either way, I like both of them.
All right, let's get Keith's thoughts if he has any issues. I was just going to point out they didn't do it today, but it was weird to see over the weekend. Adam Duvall, leadoff hitter. Did you guys see that? That's very. I feel like that might have been the first time that's ever happened in his career. But yeah, Atlanta's obviously been dealing a lot of injuries, and it is strange to see the iterations they're throwing out there. Alvarez batting at ninth. We saw him hitting up in the order when he first came up, but yeah, obviously it's not your friend of 2 months ago's Atlanta Braves. What do you have here, Keith? Any issues with where Kirkwood puts Atlanta and Milwaukee?
No issues. I agree with both of them. I've been trying to pick on Colin Ray all season long, and it just has not worked out. Was writing up the Stacks article today and was really impressed by some of these Braves barrel rates against right-handed pitching, as Kirkwood was kind of alluding to. I know they've struggled more than we expected them to, but there's some really strong stuff. Even Kelnick's at a 10% barrel rate. Matt Olson's been terrible, but he's 9.9% barrel rate. Sean Murphy has been terrible, 11.9% barrel rate. These are some elite barrel numbers. Olsen and Murphy in particular have just been getting so unlucky this season. I like Atlanta a ton in this spot. I don't think Colin Ray is good. I think he's prone to give up home runs. He hasn't necessarily done it all that much this season, but I think he could in this spot for sure. And then Milwaukee, we don't really know what Grant Holmes is. I kind of think there's some talent there. Milwaukee's not they're not exciting. They're just kind of middle of the road. We don't know what Holmes is, so that it makes it a little bit tough. But I personally think Holmes has a little bit of talent. So middle of the road on Milwaukee.
So Don Geezy, maybe look, he says, Olsen, BVP. My curiosity, I can't help myself. He's got 2 official at-bats versus Colin Ray. He's got 1 hit and 1 home run, and he struck out in the other at-bat. This is what we're doing. Don Easy,
Junk Nation, right there. He knows how to play. We go over this in the secret Discord, Dean.
This is one Discord I'm glad I was not invited to. It's 1 for 2 with a home run. Okay, shout out. I'm fine with Olsen, but not because he once homered off the opposing pitcher Colin Ray in 2 official bats. Okay, we shall move on. Next game up, I believe Kirkwood. You're going to be firing up. No, this is Keith. Let's see. Moving on from. I always skip a game.
I think kind of bouncy. You skipped Texas St. Louis. I think
that's what I thought. I knew I goofed there somewhere. Yes, it's not a Grinders live show until I skip one of the games. Eovaldi taking on Palante, 8.5 is a total. Tommy Edman traded away from St. Louis. Texas is the slight favorite. Here, again, 8.5. Both these teams have a team total just above 4. Where do we have the Rangers versus Palante? What do you have here? This is your board, Keith.
It's kind of strange that the money line is so close here, isn't it? This feels like Texas should be pretty big favorites in this spot. I think they're pretty equal teams, but the pitching matchup is heavily skewed towards Texas. So St. Louis is down there in Bud, right where producer Steve has them. I'm not interested in trying to pick on Eovaldi. I think he's one of the better real-life pitchers on the slate. Strikeout upside is a little concerning for DFS, but he's a very good pitcher. I'm not trying to pick on him here. I don't know what to do with Texas because I don't know what Palante is at this point. I know he's had some success here, and Texas has been sort of mediocre compared to what we thought they were going to be. I think they're going to be in boss. I don't like them as much as Atlanta. That's kind of the measuring stick I'm putting up here. I wouldn't hate him up in Bro because I'm not scared of Galante. Texas has plenty of talent in the lineup, but I think I've been landing in boss here with Texas.
Kirkwood, your thoughts? Any issues?
No issues. I like that where it is.
So, Mr. Irrelevant in chat says, got here late. We thinking the Reds lineup isn't up because of potential trades. I thought we had a Reds lineup, and I thought I saw it was official. And now I'm not seeing it's official anywhere. Has that lineup changed?
I don't think it's come out. They announced that Ellie would be resting, but I haven't seen an official lineup.
Okay, so that's what's going on. No official lineup, but we're not expecting De La Cruz in there because they announced a. Why would you announce a rest day? I guess who knows. Okay, all right. We skipped. My bad. I skipped Texas and St. Louis. Now let's get to. Let's see. We got 3 more games. Pittsburgh and Houston. We are getting the return of Brian Reynolds, Paul Skeens, big favorite, of course. Only minus 130. I thought it'd be bigger than that. I guess Houston's the better team theoretically. Then the Astros, Jake Loss on the other side. This is yours, Kirkwood. Pirates. I think Pirates are one of my, I don't want to say, they're one of my, like my 5th or 6th best stack, I think, on this slate. Don't mind them. I like the return of Reynolds. Cruz in there. Rowdy's pretty cheap also. Palacios is the leadoff hitter. So, no McCutchen for Pittsburgh. Yeah. What do you got here, Kirkwood?
Yeah. So, I mean, the leverage spot would obviously be Houston. I just don't see it happening for them against the greatest pitcher of all time. So that's according to Head Chopper. He's been saying that he's the best to ever do it. He coined that in the very beginning of the season, and so that I had to give him his credit for that. But so Skeens is electric, man. I just don't see it going well. I think he's going to have a big strikeout game because I think I don't even care that the Astros don't strike out. So on the other side, Bloss throws kind of meatballs, to be honest with you. He has like a decent slider sweeper, but he needs like a better fastball to go with it. He doesn't have it. So I don't think he's very good at this point. So give me a Pirates for kind of a sneaky snack, like you were saying, Dean. I'd put them either in Bro or Boss.
You gotta make a commitment. Which one? Where are we putting them?
Let's go up to Bro.
Okay.
And let's put Houston down in a Sport.
Yeah, Houston all the way at the bottom. Pittsburgh hanging out with Bro. What do you have?
Or we could change Sport to Squirt.
Which is worse? Yeah, I think you wouldn't call it an adult squirt. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I was going to say I think squirt's more for children.
Well, it's a cat. It's depending on what kind of squirting we're talking about.
Oh man,
seamless segue, Keith. Yeah, are we good with Pittsburgh and Houston?
I am good with Pittsburgh and Houston. Chop might not be wrong. Like Skeens looks legit, has legitimately put up the best, probably 12 starts to start a career that's ever been recorded. I know Strasburg was really good, but he is legitimately in the conversation for the best start to a career ever. And Pittsburgh, I think the nice little upgrade with Brian Reynolds back in the lineup. We have the money to afford him today. So that was a definite bump. I had them in Boss originally, but getting Reynolds back, I do like them up in Bro.
By the way, Reds Gal, good point. Maybe Cincinnati's waiting on Ty France. They did pick up France, and I'm not sure if he's available to play or not. Maybe that's what they're trying to figure out. But Cincinnati got France, so maybe that's what's holding up their lineup, possibly. Okay. We have, by the way, apologies. It's raining pretty hard here. Hopefully y'all can't hear it. Kansas City and the White Sox. This is Keith, Chris Flexen taking on Alec Marsh. The biggest total on the board, Kansas City locked in for 9 versus a terrible Chicago team. One of the weaker starting pitchers. Good positive hitting environment. The Royals are going to be pretty popular, maybe too popular. That's my one concern. The slate's kind of small, and again, it's really, really easy to get Bobby Witt, who's awesome. But I'm thinking about not playing him in some lineups intentionally where it might make sense. But you tell me, Keith, where do we have Kansas City and Chicago? Nicky Lopez leading off because Pham got traded away. And, yeah, somebody else might get moved the next day or two as well.
Yeah, the ownership on Kansas City is a little concerning. Big slate, big ownership. I think they're getting more popular as we're getting closer to lock here. I'm afraid they weren't as popular this morning when I was first breaking it down. I still have them in the top tier. Chris Flexen doesn't strike anybody out. He gives up a ton of fly balls, which leads to home runs. Kansas City's home park is a great hitter's park, but it's a terrible home run park. This is a big upgrade for home runs going into whatever the White Sox call their field nowadays, guaranteed rate, I think.
I think so. Guaranteed loss field.
Like this, yeah, guaranteed loss. This is a great spot for home runs for the Royals. It's a really powerful lineup that, like, their overall numbers are held down by their home park because it's not a good home run park. Witt and Perez are two of my favorite hitters on the entire slate. Absolutely love Hunter Renfroe. Michael Massey bumped up to the leadoff spot, which I absolutely love. I'm going to be eating this chalk. It might backfire because Flexen does have a tendency to generate some soft contact at times more than you would like, and he gets pop-ups rather than home runs. But I love this as a home run spot for Kansas City. White Sox, if Marsh was more popular, I would have maybe a little interest because while I'm playing some Marsh, I don't think he's all that great. But Marsh isn't looking like he's going to be all that popular. So White Sox, I will have down in Bud, potentially even Sport.
I see TJ in chat. He'll be on in about 5-10 minutes or so at crunch time, dropping the first Spidey bomb. We hit the threshold. Ketel Marte, we'll be talking about him in a second. Spidey bomb number 2 at 150. We should go ahead and drop the last clue as well for Movie Monday. The last clue is oxymoron. So all the clues: fiction, horse, hay, nonfiction, oxymoron. I watched this movie for the first time this past weekend or so. It's like 30 years old if you haven't quite pieced it together. It's an old movie. A lot of people have seen it, famous actors as well. But okay, any issues here? By the way, Kansas City, you had him up top. You had him in Jabroni, correct? I see him hanging out in Boss.
Yeah, in Jabroni.
Okay.
I don't know if I officially said that, but yes.
Yeah, no worries. Kirkwood, KC all the way up top, Chicago in Bud.
All right. The one thing, and I know Chop mentioned it the other day on the show, and it's absolutely true, is that there's speculation that they're stealing signals in Kansas City at home because their numbers are so much better at home versus the road. I get it. This is a good spot from a park standpoint, but just something that I think is curious. But I'll still put them in the top in Jabroni. And man, the White Sox are so bad. Yeah. They could still finish above 500 if they go 53-0 though.
So I just pulled up their record. Yeah, they are. Yeah, you're right. They're 27-81. They can go 81-81 if they run off. Oh God, it's embarrassing. They're so much worse than like the second worst team. It's really bad.
But I mean, guys, like on this slate, if you're looking for solid, like, I mean, Robert is always in play from a home run standpoint. Great bet. Like Eloy is cheap for a home run if you need it. I mean, there's potential there. DeYoung can hit a home run. That's about all he can do. And
he's got like 20 though. He has the power. He's cheap. And I think you can play him at third, right? You don't have to play him at shortstop. I'm pretty sure.
Third or short, yeah.
Yeah, yep. Play him at third. I don't mind him as like a third base cheapie. If you're going to play him, try to play him at short. I mean, try to play him at third because shortstop is got a bigger opportunity cost. One more game to go.
Of course, 3.2K, Gavin freaking the sheets.
Yeah, well, I mean,
3.2K batting cleanup.
I mean, of course, what? Like, you want your 5 points? You just wanted to say freaking this.
He can hit a bomb. He could hit a bomb for sure.
I mean, they all can. They're all professionally trained, sure. But, you know, he's in the back nine of his career. And there's the mush for you. Last game of the night. No Washington lineup just yet. It's Mitchell Parker taking on Jordan Montgomery, a couple lefties. Arizona does have a team total right around 5 as well, too. So right there, I guess a little bit behind Kansas City as far as team total, but they will be second on the board. Parker has not looked good. Kirkwood, this is your board. It's Washington. It's Arizona. Also, just a heads up, we're going to need some Juggalo bombs too. I know you come prepared. You're going to have some, but just Start loading them up, getting them ready, and Eisters, Fleisters, get those ready as well. The people demand the homer calls or just some props, whatever you're working with, whatever you want to throw out to the people. Kirkwood, tell me about Washington and Arizona. Where are they going to be placed?
I like Arizona a lot in this spot. In context related on this slate, I mean, there's a lot of guys that can hit. First of all, the cat like that probably the cash catcher tonight, but depending if you don't have the salary for like Salvi, but Moreno is cheap, batting second. Yeah, like that. Marte against the lefty is just absolutely as elite as it gets year in and year out. This year he's got a 478 WOBA, 354 ISO. Jumps off the page. Gurriel is a good play. Walker's a good play. So I'll put the Diamondbacks right up top next to Kansas City.
Jabroni.
And yeah, sorry, in Jabroni. And then on the other side, I kind of like the Nats too because Montgomery's been battling back from injury. He's not getting any strikes. He's never a high strikeout pitcher, but he's been a lot better than this. In his first start back here, working his way back in 67 pitches, he had an 18% called strike whiff, which is terrible. And so this is definitely an attack spot. Like guys like Lane Thomas, maybe like cheap Yepes, Abrams. Maybe temper your expectation, but like from a mini stack standpoint, I like those top three. On the Nationals. So I'll put them right in the middle. And boss. Thank you, Stevie.
Muted, Dean. Yep. Almost made it all the way through.
I wanted to see how long we could go if you just shake your head with him and be like, yep. Just see how long you can get him.
The one time you actually agree with me, it's when you can't hear the point I'm actually making. Yeah, I was actually agreeing with you, Kirkwood. I love the Washington mini, if nothing else. I think CJ Abrams is like the pivot off the pivot off the pivot, and just spectacular. I love good players that can get there multiple routes on the road, leading off. I assume he's going to be hitting lead off. We don't officially the lineup, but that's what he's been doing. 5 ABs, on layaway, theoretically, assuming things go fairly well for Washington. Your thoughts here, Keith, when it comes to Arizona? Do you agree? Arizona is in Jabroni and Washington right there in the middle, hanging out with Boss.
Yeah, I have no notes. I think Kirkwood broke it down exceptionally, and then you followed it up with an agreement, and I'm going to go ahead and third it. Arizona is one of the top stacks on the entire slate. Ketel Marte has been on absolute fire. And then Washington, I like a couple of these pieces here. Juan Yepes, particularly as a cheapie one that you mentioned. I have some interest.
All right, couple things before crunch time comes in. There is a question here in the live stream chat that it's specifically for Kirkwood. Big Brown wants to know favorite 20 max stacks. So I know, Kirkwood, that's not necessarily your bag. It's not necessarily your streets. But if you were running 20, is there one stack you'd have like well above everybody else?
I would do so. My favorites would be the D-backs, Braves, and then I would still play some Royals, but I would try to play them less than the others. And then I like Twins, man. So those would be mine.
I think today is like a 3-3-2 kind of day. I know it's like not. That's sacrilege. You can't do that. Yeah, he's saying no. Well, I don't. I'm not really sure any teams. Of course, anything can break the slate, but I feel like this is a slate where it's going to be low scoring.
8 games. You definitely can do it.
Well, not definitely because of there's going to be ownership condensed, and if the Royals put up 15 runs, guess what? It's going to be a high scoring slate. So you never really know. But if the Royals just kind of miss, or I'm thinking about 3-3-2 kind of stuff. And again, I know that's not what the book is going to be teaching you necessarily. Also want to give a shout out to Monster01 specifically in the Discord, who binged today's Movie Monday on one clue. The clue was fiction. So fiction was clue number 1. Clue number 2, horse. This movie had a very, very famous horse chasing scene, a horse action scene that almost killed its star and almost killed the star. Clue number 3 is hay. Hay works both ways, by the way. It's hay, H-E-Y, not H-A-Y for horses. This is hay as in hey Arnold, as in hey Arnold Schwarzenegger, hey Tom Arnold. Oh. So fiction and nonfiction. So wait, how could it be both? Fiction and nonfiction. Clue number 5 is oxymoron, true lies. Fiction, nonfiction. So shout out to Monster01 for getting that one correctly. I did watch True Lies. Actually, it might be Arnold's best movie. It's shocking. It's ridiculous. It's completely absurd, but in all the best ways. James Cameron was the director. We do need
it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. Like some of the really silly things are happening, but you kind of know that going in. You bought the ticket. That's what you signed up for. We need Juggalo bombs. Give me a Juggalo bomb, Kirkwood, before we have crunch time coming in.
Matt Olson.
You got another one or just one?
This guy named Dingler.
Who?
Steve said we have a guy named Dingler in the lineup. Is that true?
Dingler?
That's what
is he in the pool?
I don't think he is in the pool, but he absolutely is a player. Yes.
On what team is he?
Dylan,
he's a catcher for the Tigers, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Is that a game?
This is the Kirk Dingler Dong of the night. Is Dingler.
Dylan Dingler. Say that 5 times really quick.
Dylan, and that's my son's name. You can't beat this.
That is a 640 game. Is he actually in the lineup for Detroit? He is.
Yeah. You can play him on Yahoo.
Yeah, maybe T2 is the best. And people are telling me that Arnold's best movie. Twins fans out there, Predator. I guess. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not a big Arnold guy, but whatever. Keith, what do you got? Fleisters, who's going yard?
Give me Christian Walker for the Diamondbacks, and I will take Randy Arozarena for Seattle to take Pavetta.
I love the Randy Arozarena call. I think I'm going to be on Seattle more than I should be. Let's go ahead and bring in crunch time just in time because Kevin Roth hanging out in chats. He says, True Lies, I was right. So, all right. So maybe somebody else is going to fight me, but I thought that was the best Arnold movie. Let's go ahead and bring in TJ. TJ, of course, he is well-versed in movies as well. Maybe he'll have an opinion. And you got Tasteful Tides, who doesn't like fun, so he probably doesn't like any Arnold movies. It is crunch time. Here they come right now. All right. Kevin Roth, is it weird that was the first time I've seen True Lies? I'm not a big action guy, so it took me a long time to get there, but I finally and it kind of holds up considering it was done like 30 years ago. Like it's not, it looks pretty good if you in that context.
Yeah, it's a legit good movie. Have you seen Total Recall? Because I actually kind of love Total Recall too.
Many, many years ago, I remember the one scene,
the 3 hands. 3 hands. Damn, baby. I wish I had 3 hands.
Everybody remembers the one scene. And they remade it with Colin Farrell, which I didn't see. I didn't see that. Did anybody see the remake? I don't think anybody saw the remake, but I think Terminator 2 was probably the chalk. I feel like that's the most it's definitely not Jingle All the Way. John's throwing out
Twins.
In chat.
Twins.
Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop was fire. That was good. Yeah.
Is it still fire? It was just like fun when you were 10.
I think
I don't know.
It's a good question. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Who's your daddy and what does he do? TJ, you have a take on this? Are you a big Arnold guy?
Not a big Arnold guy. I probably would have said Terminator 2. I haven't seen True Lies, though. You've seen Gen V, right, Dean?
No, I have not watched that yet. Should I?
You've not watched? Oh, yeah. I actually enjoy it.
I've watched The Boys, but I haven't watched
that's why I thought you did, because I enjoy it more than The Boys. One of the main characters at the beginning, Golden Boy, is Schwarzenegger's son.
Okay, yeah, I know he's popped up in some things. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I know I saw him something else, but is that the one with the maid, or is that? We shouldn't get into that. Okay, doesn't matter.
You can DM me your questions.
Tim, thoughts? Anything?
I've never seen any of the Terminators, Dean. Not one of them.
Jesus Christ! What the?
It's true story. True story.
Have you seen True Lies?
Yep, and I've seen Kindergarten Cop, and I've seen is it Predator?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that, but I've never seen any of the Terminators.
All right, Running Man getting some love in the chat as well. All right. By the way, Roth, I'm not sure if you know, 7:10 start tonight. Sorry, 7:10. Yeah, 7:10.
No, I love it. People, there's someone in the chat who gets mad at me for not liking the late starts. Who's watching TV?
I think it's not a tumor. I think I just heard. Kirk
I'm trying to play. It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. No, that's fine. That's fine.
It's not a tumor.
You can't just play the movie. There's rights involved.
Like 7 seconds. I thought we get or something.
I don't know what the wiggle room is, but yeah, cutting it short. Oh, you were saying, Kevin?
I don't know. It's fine. It's not a tumor.
Now we're just rolling out our favorite. I think it's his best acting. That's what I'll say about Arnold. I think that's we're rounding up on Arnold's acting, but I think that was his best acting in True Lies.
Did this all stem from his documentary that's on Netflix right now? Because I just watched that last night randomly.
No, was it good? Was it interesting?
I thought, yeah, I don't know. I'm just started, but yeah, I think it's pretty good. He's kind of fascinating. He was the world's strongest man, then the world's biggest actor, and then a freaking governor. Like, there's kind of a lot going on there in his life.
He's lived a wild life, like Forrest Gump, right? As far as just like the different things he checked off, as far as the boxes. Eric and chat saying Arnold the best. Yeah, he's the best worst actor ever. That's a good point. Yeah, I guess you sort of embrace it. But yeah, what was the Pumping Iron from like the 80s? You ever watch that one? That's eye-opening as well. You ever see that, Roth?
No.
That's,
but I mean,
it's worth checking out.
Yeah,
I think it was before he was like a big star. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not certain. But it is pretty interesting. Steven Seagal is greater than Arnold, according to Izzy. Seagal is like the worst. He famously had the worst SNL of all time. It's really, really fascinating if you're going to that rabbit hole. But we got to step aside.
I'm more of a Sylvester Stallone guy.
Oh, Rocky? Or
do you watch his that show, the show on Peacock or whatever that he has, where he's a gangster?
I genuinely didn't know he had a show on Peacock. I'm not that big of a. I'm not
that big of a Stallone
guy. In comparison to Arnold, in comparison to like this like genre of actor, Stallone would probably be my favorite of those.
Who else is in this genre?
Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jackie Chan.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it. No, that's the list.
There's got to be more.
Maybe The Rock.
I would say I would say in the beginning, The Rock is, but maybe now he's got
Wesley Snipes. Blade, does that count?
No.
Oh, Keanu Reeves.
No, he's in too many other like. He's a genuinely great actor.
Yeah.
This is not. There are no good actors in this category.
God, you know who really sucks? Who's in a lot of movies now? Is
Chuck
Batista.
No.
Oh, Batista.
No, he's a phenomenal actor.
No, he's a really shitty actor.
He's a real. You are just factually incorrect there.
He's in so many movies now, and I'm just like, could they just get someone who could act? Wouldn't that be nice? Why is this? I get he's big, but man, he sucks. Anyways, people want to hear about sports, not our acting takes, so we should probably. So yeah, Brian says baseball. What are we doing here? Yeah.
All right, myself, Kirkwood, Keith. We do thank you all for watching the first portion. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do not go anywhere because we have 45 minutes all the way up the lock. We have TJ Zwarych, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Tasteful Tides, Tim, the lover of fun. Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it. Ladies and gents, you know the drill. It's crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Taking you up to lock, taking you through lock. Look, we can disagree about actors, but one thing we can all agree on here is what Willie Hawley said a few minutes ago, which is Roth is terrible. Yeah. I mean, you pegged me on there. Yeah, we can all agree on that as we launch into crunch time. Weather-wise, I think I like The Rock.
The Rock is a genuinely terrible actor. Like you can like him, like you can like think he's fun in roles, but like he's a bad actor.
That's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. Hey,
whereas I feel like Batista, you could dislike his roles, but he's not bad at acting.
Boy, I disagree strongly, but that's fine. The people came to hear some baseball. That's what we're going to talk about. And generally, we started off with a hello and then some weather. We'll make the hellos quick. We got TJ Zwarych in the house. What up, man?
Not much. Ready to break down this slate. This is a really fun one. I'm excited to dive into it. Got 150 lineups. Got some Spidey bombs ready for the people. In fact, we're over 150 likes, so it's time for the second one, which is O'Neal Cruz, Spidey bomb number 2. First one was Ketel Marte. We want a third. Let's get it up to 200 likes. And I'm excited. We got single entry. We got 150. We got Spidey bombs. It's going to be a fun day.
Okay, very good. A lot going on. We got Tasteful Tides. Tim in the house. How are you? You've been very mute on this whole conversation. Not a big movie guy? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, not really those genres, I guess. Okay. I would say. But yeah, this slate is so bad that it's good. There's a lot of like difficult decisions to be had in both cash and tournaments. So I'm excited to break it down. And what's going on with this Cincinnati weather, Roth?
Okay, so this slate is like Steven Seagal, essentially. It's so bad that it's good in a way. I'm excited for that. So weather-wise, I don't see any games where I would do anything. In every single game, the only game I'm actually worried about is the Baltimore game that starts in 20 minutes and nobody cares because it's not on the slate, right?
Correct.
I could dive into things in Cincinnati, but I think the likely outcome is they get a full game in and then the rain arrives. There's a chance that a storm pops up and causes a delay, and then the rain that was supposed to arrive after the game arrives in the game, and then the game's over. Like that could happen in Cincinnati. But based on what I'm seeing on radar, based on what I'm seeing from the latest high resolution forecast models, I think that is a less likely outcome. If you want to play it totally safe, then that's the one game where things could go wrong is Cincinnati. But I would play it like that. I don't think that chain of things happening is likely enough that you should fade it. So that's essentially where I sit on Cincy and essentially on all games. You cool with that, Tim?
Yeah, that's great. I think really we kind of wanted hitters in that game, if anything. I don't think pitching is a huge deal. I could see getting some tie on in GPPs, but I don't think it's a huge deal for pitchers.
Yeah. Again, the only concern would be if we get a delay, then the storms that are supposed to arrive at 10 p.m. after the game arrive in the game, and then you don't get a full game. Like that's a possible outcome, but I don't think it's a likely enough outcome that you should plan for it, right? That would be a lot of things going wrong. So I think it's going to work out in general. And that's it as far as weather goes. Like that's all of the East Coast games. You have this low chance of a delay. Play pitchers, like just play hitters, play pitchers. The odds of a delay in any of those games are like 5 to 10%. So just eat that risk and play pitchers. And that's it for weather. And that's good because we have talked about movies for 15 minutes. So we need to move on and talk about the slate. And Tim, I'm going to let you lead us off here. What are we doing pitcher wise? I guess we need 2 on DK. We need 1 on FanDuel. What do you like?
Yeah, so we got to start off with Paul Skeens. I mean, he's by far the best pitcher on the slate. He's pretty much by far the best pitcher in baseball. He's 10-5. The matchup is not fantastic, but on this slate, I don't really care. He's definitely going to be in my cash games. He should be in everyone's cash games by easily. Somebody that I would try to get
real quick.
Go ahead.
What is his strikeout prop? Just out of curiosity. Do you know?
I don't have it. I can look it up real quick.
Or his projection, his strikeout projection.
Well, his strikeout projection is almost 7.
That seems that is more greater than.
I think his K prop is 6.5.
Nah, give me the over. Give me the over all day. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
because he's striking out.
It's not really the best matchup. But I mean, just given the context of the slate and his pure talent, I think he's definitely a must play in cash. I would probably get over 54% on DraftKings as well and in GPPs. SB2 is where we have true difficulty kind of figuring out what to do in cash and single entry and GPPs, in my opinion. Nick Pivetta is definitely going to be where projections lead you. Nick Pivetta is very boomer bust, going up against a very boomer bust Seattle offense that strikes out at an incredibly high rate. If I'm playing a lot of teams tonight, if I'm like maxing that $5 150 max that they're having tonight, I'd be getting to both sides of this game because Pivetta can give it up and he can also strike out a ton. So he is viable for cash, absolutely. Just because he could give up a couple home runs and still get you 20 DK points. So because he does have a really, really solid K rate against this very high strikeout Mariners team. So I don't mind him for cash. I don't think he's an absolute must in cash games. That's likely who I'm going to be playing. I think the next candidate would probably be Alec Marsh, 7,700. Really, really strong matchup against the White Sox. So I think that he is a decent salary saving option for cash. And then for tournaments, it's going to be interesting to see what people do with Logan Gilbert and Nathan Eovaldi. I would prefer Eovaldi over Gilbert. I think that's a little too much salary for Gilbert in a not so great matchup against Boston in Fenway. So I think I'd be underweight Gilbert, maybe slightly overweight Eovaldi. And then we have Grant Holmes, who is 4K, who's projected for about 65 pitches. Not a cash game option. Not even really somebody that I love that much for GPPs, just because I mean, I don't know, like you're really hoping for 13 to 14 points. I guess it could conceivably happen, but if he's going to be owned, I'm not really liking that play that much. But I mean, I know some people are going to be thinking about Grant Holmes to roster him. I get it. There's always some appeal to get to a min price pitcher.
Yeah. I mean, I love doing it, but also on a big slate, isn't there enough value you can find on bats where you don't need to get a pitcher that only gets you like 12 to 14 points?
There might only be one pitcher who gets more than 12 to 15 points.
Oh,
yeah. So this would be the slate to potentially try that, because there is a really, really, really bad mid-range of pitching. Like I don't really want to play Jake Bloss, Colin Ray. I could definitely see playing some Woods Richardson. I think he's okay, but there's guys like Montgomery, Flexen, Spears, and Parker are guys really who are in that 6 to 7K range that I don't want to play at all. So I think there is some chance that Grant Holmes can pass those guys, but still, I'd rather live kind of in the top end for pitching tonight.
Okay, very good, TJ. I want to bring you in, and at the same time, Dean said, Roth, Google Grant Holmes, and oh my God. He said, Google Grant Holmes and tell me you don't want to play this guy. Yes, I wasn't going to play tonight, but now I'm going to play. I'm going to lock in Grant Holmes.
How fun is it to go Skeens and Holmes?
But how chalky is it to go Skeens and Holmes is my question, because that's what
Holmes is projecting for 6.6% ownership.
I think it's going to be higher than that, TJ.
Yeah.
Probably, but like it's not going to be chalky.
Well, how much Holmes do you have, TJ? By the way, Izzy says Grant Holmes looks like a member of Spinal Tap, which is good. I don't know if we can pop up a photo of him here just to give people the visual, but it's a glorious look. TJ, how much Holmes do you have?
40% Holmes today.
Yo.
And I want to get more. Like if I wasn't on a show, I would probably be getting myself more today. And Steve, for the Spidey bombs, it's Ketel Marte and O'Neill Cruz. You can get both of them for plus 400. So those are the first two, and I'll drop two more as soon as we get to 200 likes. It's a lot of twos in one sentence. Bump the likes way up here. We're only 16 likes away.
We got the side-by-side, TJ, up there. 200. Holmes and Kenny Powers, and they are the same dude. Like he is him.
Here's the thing is this isn't a guy who is some like minor league guy being called up and then we don't have any numbers on him yet. It's a bullpen guy who's a good strikeout pitcher that has gone up to mid 50s pitches, which even if he stays 55, 60 and gets you 10-ish points, that's fine. But if they happen to bump him up to 70, he can get you 13, 14, 15, and all of a sudden you're really, really cooking, because if Seattle gets to Pivetta, there's a very good chance that Skeen is the only pitcher on the slate with more than 20 points. Because Gilbert and Eovaldi are both in really tough matchups. And so Pivetta is in the type of matchup where he's very likely going to have 30 fantasy points tonight, or 7 or -2. You know, like, sorry, I think Shadow's coming in here and being loud. You guys can probably hear him. But Eovaldi is just like, it's such a boom or bust spot against Seattle that I really don't think that you can fade because they strike out so much. But I want to play a ton of the Seattle bats against him because he could also just absolutely get lit up by them. And so if Pivetta fails, there's a good chance nobody other than Skeen is over 20%. And so I have a very small pitcher pool today in 150 lineups. I have 5 guys, Skeens, Pivetta, Marsh, Colin Ray, Grant Holmes. That's it. I have 80% Skeens, 40% Pivetta, 40% Holmes. And then I'm just sprinkling in a little bit of Colin Ray or Marsh. But I would way, way, way rather pay down for Holmes than get to anybody other than Skeens or Pivetta today.
Gee, this seems like, I don't want to say bad advice, but it just seems scary that we're essentially saying like you're endorsing this 4K dude who's might only get 50 pitches, right?
Yes, but I mean, hey, we see these little dots beside their names. Scroll up and see who that blue one belongs to.
Well, I can't.
Steve, let's scroll up on the screen share. See who that blue one belongs to. Bang! Look at that top left-hand corner.
What was it? Cheese?
It's Cheese. It's Cheese's a core play tag today. So I'm not the only one feeling crazy getting to him. I'll look at his. We'll look at the Musings article right now. Looking at the pitching cliff notes. What does it say here? After these four, we're throwing. All we're doing is throwing low upside darts. So for me, I'd rather just throw the cheapest one. That will have me playing more Grant Holmes on DK than a mixture of the other guys.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. If the real issue is that there's no other SP2 that you like, then it makes sense to just go with the 4K guy. I feel like that's a Cardi move as well. I think Cardi would probably be on board with that. We did get a few questions. Oh, I wanted to be clear. This dude is playing, right? This isn't like he's supposed to be the long reliever. Like we
Correct.
know.
No, he is a bullpen arm, a long bullpen arm that is starting the game.
Okay.
And so we do know for a fact he's playing. Floor is 50 to 55 pitches. Ceiling is, because he's starting, maybe they let him go a little bit more and he gets 60 to 70.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's flip it. Let's talk about some of the bats and some of the stacks. What do you like in hitter-wise, TJ?
Stacks today, getting to a lot of Kansas City is my top stack, with Arizona right behind them. They're my top two by a fairly wide margin. Behind them, I like getting to a ton of Seattle because, like I talked about with Pivetta, he's probably either going to get lit up or strike out double-digit guys today. And so on the chance that he gets lit up, since he's going to be 40+% owned, I want to get a lot of Seattle stacks going up against him. My next favorite would be the Cubs in the Great American Small Park in Cincinnati. Good matchup for them in a great ballpark. I really like getting to them. Atlanta, Washington, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh is kind of all in my next tier of teams that I like getting to. And then the only other teams in my pool today are Texas, the Mets, the Twins, and St. Louis, but not getting to them near as much as the others.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, your thoughts stack-wise?
Yeah, ownership not considered. I think Kansas City's the top stack on the board. Really like them today. Always love attacking Chris Flexen. I think you should be getting to at least 3 Royals in cash games on both sites. They're definitely at the top optimal spend, but they are going to be very, very popular. So just keep that in mind when building out your stacks. Love the call by TJ on the Cincinnati ballpark. Love the Cubs. You know, I kind of like the Reds, but with no De La Cruz in the lineup, kind of hurts a little bit. So I'm a little bit lower than I was initially on the Reds, but I don't mind them. I think Grant Holmes is going to be higher owned than we think, so I don't mind getting to some Brewers. And then for like a cheaper type stack, like a little mini 3-man cheap fill-in stack, I like the Pirates quite a bit.
Okay, good stuff. Guys, let's go around the horn, talk position by position. You get to lead us off. Tides with a little catcher talk.
Yeah, so if you have all the salary, I would definitely go with Sal Perez at 4,900. He's also first base eligible, but I would play him at catcher. If you don't have the salary, Gabriel Moreno for the Diamondbacks is 3,400. Sean Murphy, 3,100 is a fantastic play as well. And then, you know, we definitely want to attack Pivetta with some power bats. So I think the big dumper is firmly at play at 4,500.
I approve of that. Also, we got TJ giving me a sneak peek of his Spidey bombs. I'm not going to say it, but I will say we're only a handful of likes away. So make sure you hit that like button. You got a guy who's plus 400 and a guy who's plus 800. A plus 800 Spidey bomb coming your way. And all you got to do is hit that like button. TJ, what are you doing a catcher? It's Big Dumper. You know it's Big Dumper.
It is. He's in my single. That's why I love playing. This is why I love playing a low-owned 4K pitcher, because I don't care if he only gets me 10 points. I get to play Paul Skeens and all the bats I want to today. So Cal Raleigh and Sal Perez, my two favorite catchers today. Gabriel Moreno is nice and cheap, and he comes in third. Those are the only 3 I'm getting to a ton. And the only other guy I'm getting to outside of stacks is Joey Bart, batting 5th today for Pittsburgh. I do really like a sneaky Pittsburgh stack. Jeffers, Stevenson, Murphy, Torrens, Heim, Fermin, all these guys are fine, but just only in stacks.
Okay, how about first base?
First base today, you can play Sal Perez there as well. That's why he's ending up my highest owned guy. Another guy I'm getting to a ton. I don't care that he's batting 7th. It's righty on righty, so we don't have to worry about him getting pinch hit for. Patrick Wisdom, absolutely love him today. Rowdy Tellez, another cheap option I talked about, like in Pittsburgh a lot. You need cheap as well. Juan Yepes, somebody who I do think will hit a home run today. He was in Spidey bump contention, was Matt Olson, but I think it was Kirkwood who picked him on the show before as a juggalo bomb, so I didn't want to double up, but I do love Matt Olson here as well. Vinny P, Michael Bush, Christian Walker rounds out my top guys here.
Okay. A quick note here before we move on any farther. We did talk about pitching and how there's essentially only one pitcher we loved, but we did not discuss FanDuel pitching specifically, which we should. And TJ, I just kind of assume the answer is Skeens, but I don't know that. And I don't know what the pricing differences are. So can you run me through FanDuel pitcher real fast?
Yes, I absolutely sure can. And you're right. It's Skeens. It's Skeens. If he's 11-5 on FanDuel, so he is tougher to get to. But he would be my first choice for a single entry. He would be absolutely the guy I'm going to in cash, especially considering the next option is Nick Pivetta, who does have an incredibly high ceiling. Point per dollar wise, probably has a better ceiling than Skeens, but the floor is just so much lower with Nick Pivetta, so I wouldn't want to get to him in cash. At 20+% ownership, because of that ceiling, he would still be there in my 150 max pool for FanDuel, but I would rather just pay all the way up for Skeens in a single entry, and if I am finding somewhere to get different, the best cheap guy to go with would probably be Alec Marsh at 8,200. Quintana at 86 or Ray at 89. Like, it's not like it's that terrible, but you can just get Pivetta for only $9,400 more, or at $9,400, so not that much more. So Marsh at 8,200 would probably be the only cheapie against the White Sox I would take a shot on. If not, it's just still Skeens, Pivetta, or if you want to take a shot on Gilbert or Eovaldi, sure, but it's just not that much harder to get Skeens. So I would just rather do that instead. And then we have gotten over 200 likes. Shout out to them. There's a ton of people watching right now. So if we can get over 250, we'll get the Spidey bombs up even more. We'll get more of them. But we got Jake Bloss scratched, the pitcher, so we'll touch on that in a second. But the next two Spidey bombs, plus 400, Ian Happ. And like you teased, Roth, plus 800, Kyle Isbell, the 9-hitter for Kansas City today. That's my way of getting different with Kansas City is doing the wraparound stack, getting the back end guys here. And I love Isbell. He's a Spidey bomb. He's not going out of the park.
Love it. Okay. Tim, I want to kick it to you. We were on first base, but we got the news about Bloss being scratched, and I want to know what that means. I don't think it was a dude we were playing, but maybe that means things.
I don't think it means a whole heck of a lot. Probably just ends up being a bullpen game for Houston. I still kind of like the Pirates' cheap bats. But yeah, I don't think that makes a huge difference. So we'll just see that they're going to be starting here pretty soon. I did want to say one other thing about FanDuel. Whether you agree with me or TJ about Grant Holmes, you can't play him on FanDuel at 5,500. Nope. So do not play Grant Holmes on FanDuel. Okay. You can play him on DK if you want, but not on FanDuel. Okay, very good. We'll see who is starting here for Houston. If you assume it's a bullpen game, then and you don't think it's a dramatic change for the hitters in that one at all? I don't think so. I mean, I'm assuming it's just going to be a bullpen game, but I'm not positive. So.
Okay, fair enough. First base, what do you like?
Yeah, so Matt Olson is my favorite first baseman. I'm pretty high on Atlanta. I'm definitely getting to them in single entry right now. So Matt Olson is my favorite first baseman at 5,100. Vinny P 4,700. Definitely cash game viable, tournament viable. Christian Walker would fall in the 3 spot for me overall. Definitely like parts of that Arizona lineup. I love TJ's call with Patrick Wisdom. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know. This kind of changes possibly the Rowdy Tellez situation. He was like a cheap first baseman I was looking into that was going to be going up against Bloss, but now I think this is a little bit of a downgrade to Tellez, perhaps because he might be facing a lefty sooner, so he might not be as viable as he was. Juan Yepes would probably be now my favorite of the cheap first baseman. He's 3,400. So if you need to punt the position, I would do it with Juan Yepes.
Okay, good stuff. Take me to second base.
Yeah, so if you have the money, Ketel Marte, I mean, talk about a guy on a hot streak. So, I mean, obviously good spot. 5,600 is quite the price tag for him, though. So I can definitely understand if you can't get up to him. I would not call it an absolute priority in cash games. I think Michael Massey for $1,600 less, leading off against Flexen, is a perfectly good play for cash games. This position is not really that strong. This would be a position that I'd be leaning to build with my stacks. So really, I think it's Marte or Massey in cash. I think Bryce Terang, like I said, I kind of like Milwaukee. So I think Bryce Terang batting leadoff at 4,500 is good for tournaments. And I think Miguel Garcia batting 8th against Flexen is going to get pretty low ownership today, currently showing at 2%. So I think he's a way to get different with your Royal stacks.
Okay. That brings us to TJ's thoughts at second. What do you like?
I do want to touch on quick. I am going to be closely monitoring this Houston pitching situation just to make sure it is a bullpen game, see if we get any word on who could be long relief, etc. Because I do have a lot of Pittsburgh today. I talked about really liking them before. O'Neill Cruz is a Spidey bomb. And so if that matchup gets tougher, I might be lowering my exposure a little bit because I was looking forward to targeting them with Bloss. Ketel Marte is Spidey bomb, my favorite second baseman today. Michael Massey, number 2. I love him as a one-off or in Kansas City stacks. Also worth noting, he's $2,600 on FanDuel, and so just like super duper cheap there. Marcus Semien, I really like. Jorge Polanco going up against Pivetta, I think is a great play. And outside of that, it's just guys in stacks. India, Espinal, Garcia, Willie Castro, Nico Horner. And then actually I do have some Brendan Donovan as a one-off because he's batting cleanup.
Okay, third base.
Patrick Wisdom probably going to be my favorite guy today, but a very weak position third base is we have Royce Lewis in his first game back, coming in at pretty high projected ownership, upwards of 20%. That should be scary because it's his first game back. But historically, over the course of this season and even going into last, Royce Lewis just comes back from injury and goes on 5-game home run streaks before he gets back before he goes back on the IL. So probably going to hit a home run today. As we see, we get Caleb Ort projected right now to start as an opener for Houston as a guy that they just called up from
apparently
from the minors.
It is Royce's 4th game back, and he did hit a bomb on Saturday. So you were correct about him essentially coming back and bombing.
Yeah, and so he's probably going to do it again. I am underweight just because he is chalky. He just didn't play last game, and so that's why I assumed it was his first game back. But that was just a little rest day. I'm underweight there. I'm getting to a ton of Riley, Wisdom, Eugenio Suarez, Josh Smith. Those are my favorites, but I can't fault you for playing Royce Lewis. I think he's the top option probably.
Okay, great. Tim, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, I'm pretty conflicted whether or not I want to go Austin Riley or Royce Lewis as my top third baseman. I know that I'm pretty high on the Atlanta stack, so I'm going to lean on Riley as my top third baseman, Lewis right behind. I like Josh Smith quite a bit. Not a good position to punt at in cash games. I think you're going to have to hang somewhere in this 5K to 45K, 4.5K region for cash games. So it's not a really good value spot. I don't mind Patrick Wisdom at 38. We talked about him at first. He's also third base eligible, so don't mind that. And I also don't mind Brian Hayes, I guess, batting 6th at 3.5.
Okay, Tim, I want your thoughts at shortstop, but we have to note that officially getting the start here, according to Mr. Richard, is Caleb Ort. Dean had mentioned no obvious choices in the Houston bullpen. Nobody's really well rested. They recently called up Caleb Ort, but he has basically only pitched an inning at a time in the minors. You're telling me we don't want to beat up on this Houston bullpen game?
I did just go through that, by the way, before we pass it to Sam.
Oh. Sorry.
But I mean, the other side of that, it's still Pittsburgh. So I mean, I don't think you want to go completely crazy,
true.
but I mean,
That's true. Okay.
I'm not saying TJ's wrong, but I mean, because they're so cheap, outside of O'Neal Cruz. So
no, or it's only going to pitch an inning. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to lower my
Right.
exposure now to them. I'm now worried because it's a bullpen game as opposed to Bloss.
Yeah.
Right. I more preferred it when it was Bloss also. But yeah.
Okay. And to be fair, it's not that I don't listen. It's that I'm reading chat. There's like
you're totally good. You're totally good.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm not being a dick.
I didn't mean to take that as a shot. I didn't mean to take that as a shot at you either. As much as like we don't have to do that one again if we don't want to. But if you want Tim's perspective, that's cool also.
Fair enough. Okay, Tim, your thoughts at short.
For what it's worth, I was not listening, so I didn't even hear. I didn't even hear TJ say that. So
all right.
Sorry, TJ. Good. Bobby Witt's the obvious clear top shortstop in cash and GPP. He's going to be extremely highly owned, 22% right now, which is a huge number for a $6,400 player, but he is well worth the price tag. If you don't want to go up that high, like we just talked about, I liked O'Neal Cruz quite a bit when he was facing Bloss. Now I'm not as, he's still a great play. Definitely a great pivot off of Witt, but I don't like them as much. I do like Willie Adames at 4,300. Corey Seager is going to be under 10% on this slate. That's pretty sweet. We know how strong of a bat Seager is. Shortstop's just always loaded, so I would just hang in this top end range and don't punt the position.
Yeah. TJ, that tends to be what we do at short. I assume you were spending up and getting somebody who's going to hit a bomb.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some mid-range options I like. I do want to point out the irony in chat that I say it's Royce Lewis's first game back. And everyone's like, no. And then I bring up Caleb Ort. No one remembers.
Yeah. To be fair, Chad had your back on that. They were like,
that's the internet.
But
I don't know why I brought it back to that, but I just thought it was funny because, like, wow, did the chat ever let me know about Royce Lewis being back for 4 games? But Bobby Witt, definitely the number 1 guy here. O'Neal Cruz, currently my number 2, but I may be lowering that down. In the mid-tier, I really like Dansby Swanson and Dylan Moore, just because I'm stacking up the Cubs and the Mariners quite a bit. Seager, CJ Abrams, I love at 1% projected ownership. I think the Nat stack is very interesting. And Abrams is a guy that I really like getting to at tournaments. And then sprinkling in some Lindor, Castro, a little bit of Perdomo in my Diamondback stacks, but mostly, Witt, Cruz, Seager, Abrams.
Okay. Outfield, what do you like?
A lot of these Cubs guys, Seiya Suzuki and Ian Happ, getting to a lot of. Brian Reynolds, again, made drop that a touch. Not that, like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, especially for a guy like Brian Reynolds, a switch hitter. But I'm just probably not going to have as many full stacks of Pittsburgh, which will lead me to not have quite as much Brian Reynolds. Lane Thomas, I love for tournaments.
Whoa.
Lane Thomas. Lane
Thomas for tournaments. Lane Thomas traded to Cleveland. That's going to help them because they are a lot better against the right against righties than they are lefties. So that'll help having Lane Thomas there. Not going to be playing him anymore. And that's honestly just the exact push I need to get myself a little bit less Pittsburgh too. Because now I'm going to have to rebuild and get the Lane Thomas out since he was like my 4th highest owned guy in the outfield today. So less Lane Thomas. Going to adjust a couple things. I want less Washington. I want less Pittsburgh. There we go. New set of lineups. Perfect. All right. Who else do I like at the outfield? MJ Melendez, Hunter Renfroe, Kyle Isbell. All of the Royals outfielders I'm getting to a ton of. Jared Kelenic I like today. Not a lot of full stacks of Atlanta, but I like Olsen, Riley, and Kelenic I think is a really fun mini stack. Lourdes Gurriel, Randy Arozarena, Dylan Moore, Victor Robles, Mike Tauchman as well for the Cubs I like quite a bit.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, your thoughts in the outfield?
Yeah, I completely agree with the Cubs outfielders on both DK and FanDuel. They're really, really affordable, really easy to access. Do love the Braves, Marcell Ozuna, Jared Kelenic, Adam Duvall, Rosario as well. I like him quite a bit today. Do have one tater real quick that I wanted to give out. Eloy Jimenez plus 430 on FanDuel Sportsbook. I do like him also for DFS. Hunter Renfroe 3,400, way too cheap. MJ Melendez 3K, he's way too cheap. Also, Josh Palacios for the Pirates 3,300, like him quite a bit. He's going to get his ownership's going to be quite low because he's right around the same price tag as those Royals outfielders. So I don't mind him as like a part of a little mini Pirate stack and get off some of the Royals chalk. Same thing with Jackson Chourio 3,500. Again, he's going to go extremely lower owned, right around that Renfroe and Melendez price. He's going to be like 3% versus Renfroe and Melendez, who are going to be like 12 to 15%. So those are good pivots, I think. I think that's about it.
Okay. Taylor Scott's another. It's a bullpen unconfirmed starting for them today, and so like it's a bullpen game confirmed.
Yeah,
doesn't really matter if it's Ort or Scott. It's a game full of bullpens.
But their bullpen is not well rested, it seems, right? Is that what I've gathered from this? Is there going to be like crappy dudes going in there that aren't good, or is it bullpen game?
I don't think we got to read into them as being a worse bullpen than anybody else right now. Is like a bad thing. Just like I like the Bless because it's a bullpen game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Dean says in chat, he goes, I'm seeing two lefties in the Houston pen. Brian King, he has pitched back-to-back games, and Josh Hader likely only pitches if Houston is ahead. So that's pretty good.
So that is good for O'Neal Cruz. I don't think it really matters for Tellez. He's just as good lefty-lefty as he is righty-lefty, but for Cruz, that's a big deal.
Help me out. Yeah. That means I want to play lefty bats there or righty bats for Pittsburgh? Lefty bats.
Yeah, the lefty bats are already we're like already lined up in a good lineup order. So the concern would be if we get a ton of lefties that they could get maybe pitch hit for or be in bad spots. Right. But Hader's really the only one we have to worry about. And if he's in there, the stack didn't pan out anyway.
Gotcha. Okay. Good stuff, guys. I'd say we need some home run calls, but we got some very tasty taters. They were delicious. We got 4 Spidey bombs. And TJ, you mentioned we're not too far away, perhaps, from getting another Spidey bomb. Maybe even
11 likes away from 250 right now. So I got another Spidey bomb ready for the people if we get 11 more likes.
Okay, easy enough. Hoosier Saying Banner says Skeens is getting channel caked tonight. I am intrigued on this slate when everyone's like, the only safe and good option is Skeens. Is there viability in just fading him, or is that insane? Tim, you can take that one.
You can
fade if he has a bad outing. Sorry, I don't mean to ask you a question and then cut you off. My thought being, if he has a bad outing, you win.
I was just gonna say, it doesn't necessarily mean that Houston's gonna explode though. So I wouldn't stack Houston still. Yeah, you can fade Skeens, but I wouldn't stack Houston.
That's the thing. You can always fade anybody in baseball, and so you absolutely can fade him in if it's a single entry setting. And if it's MME, he's going to be 50% owned, and so I would either look to go heavily overweight or, just depending on what you're doing with the rest of your lineups. Maybe you just don't want Skeens to make or break your day, so you're going to get exactly where the field is. You want to go crazy and full fade him? Sure, that is totally viable too. You want to lock him in? That's totally viable. But it's baseball. You can always do those things. Sure. But don't stack Houston.
Yeah, I suppose the problem is it's not like there's another high upside dude that you pivot to, right?
Pavetta is that, but he's also 40% owned.
Yeah. It was mentioned on Blender's show that fading Skeens was like fading Prime DeGrom. Just don't do it. Yeah, no, I get it. He's good. Or stack against him. Let's see. Okay, hey, we've got about 7-8 minutes here until we hit the lock, and we need to do some promos. Otherwise, I'm going to get fired. So let's do that. You can get ahead of the competition. RotoGrinders Premium, that's the way to do it, baby. We got an option for whatever level you're looking for. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That'll save you 250 clams as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. So think ahead Get the 6-month package, and then you're set. If you're not a fan of that kind of commitment, I get it. I was afraid of commitment for a long time in my life. You get a month of RG Combo Premium for $120, or test run before you dip your toes in the water. 3-day pass is $19.99. I brought my girls to a random place and got 2 tchotchkes today that's going to end up in the garbage 2 days from now. That costs more than $19.99. You could get 3 days of RotoGrinders for that. So make sure you're doing it. With that, let's dive into the QQs. I'm starting in the RotoGrinders Discord. And let's see. I should note, my computer says low battery. I don't have a charger at any moment. We're living on the edge. We're like driving on the interstate and the gas meter just went to E. We'll see if I'm not here anymore. We done. NBA DFS says Palacios okay as a last piece in FanDuel cash. Tim, I'll give that one to you. He's batting leadoff FanDuel cash.
Let me just check his price real quick.
2,700, I think.
24. Yeah, 2,400. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, yeah, 2,400. There you go.
Very good.
Yeah.
Gonzo says, TJ, thoughts on Holmes in the 121?
I am playing Holmes in the 121.
There you go. I think he likes it. FanDuel single entry. TJ, right back to you. Devers, Yoshida, O'Reilly, and Ian Happ.
Riley Knapp.
Okay. Tim, FanDuel single entry, your favorite pitcher. I just got in. I'm late. Who do you like?
I'd stick with Skeens.
Okay. FanDuel cash. Tim, it's a 3v3 for you from Aside, Bush, Grichuk, Horner, or Vossler, Harold Ramirez, and Marte.
The first one.
Okay. DK single entry, TJ Abrams and Ezekiel Duran. I didn't know that was his first name. Or Castro and Suarez.
Castro and Suarez.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, TJ. Do you think MJ Melendez can reach 15 to 20% in single entry? I was thinking about pivoting to Isbell in a KC sack. I feel like that's your move, TJ, right? Isn't that what you like?
That is exactly what I'm doing.
We like that. See, I do listen to TJ. See, I do pay attention. FanDuel single entry, Tim, better mini stack to pair with Arizona, Seattle or Atlanta?
I'd go Atlanta.
Jay Sam says, which Reds have the highest pinch hit risk? Tim, do you happen to know which Reds have the highest pinch hit risk?
I do not, but I can look really quickly.
Okay.
All right, I'm torn between Lewis and Melendez.
It's Benson has the highest, then Fraley. Other than that, you should be pretty safe.
Okay, good stuff. Where do we go? Favorite Mariner to Dong. It's a big dumper. It's a big old dumper. But TJ, it's your answer, not me.
You nailed it.
I don't know what that was, but that's...
We've hit 250 likes, so Steve just added the final Spidey bum across the screen. Another one for plus 775. We got some good odds today. Marcus Semien, Spidey bum number 5. So we got Ketel Marte, O'Neal Cruz, who I'm a little worried about now, Ian Happ, Kyle Isbell, and Marcus Semien.
Okay. Bregonia says, I love to hear the different things Roth spends $19.99 on each day. Yeah, it's amazing. Like $19.99... I can't believe we give you 3 days of RotoGrinders Premium for $19.99. It literally feels incorrect with all the stupid shit that I spend $19.99 on every single day. ES Flores says, Tim, is Margot a fade in FanDuel cash due to pinch hit risk? He is only 24 hundo. He's leading off. I like you.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him in cash. I think there's better, cheaper outfielders.
Okay.
Palacios at the same price is a better option.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Tim, DK Cash, Palacios, or Grichuk from Matt?
I'm gonna go Palacios.
Okay.
Grichuk
TJ
and Margot are basically the exact same guy.
Okay. K-Town's Finest says, TJ, thoughts on a Rhea Quintana combo? How the hell do I pronounce that? R-E-A. How do you say that guy's name?
Ray.
Yeah, it's Ray.
I don't love it, but I do think it's somewhat viable. You're basically just hoping Skeens. It's less about playing Ray and what was the other one again? Quintana.
Quintana,
yeah. More about you are betting on Skeens and Pavetta to fail.
Yeah. Okay. TJ's 5 Royals okay and DK Cash. Holy smokes, is that okay?
Yep.
Woo, buddy. All right. Tim, how do you like Montgomery now without Lane?
I don't really care. I don't like him.
Okay. Michael says, Tim, are we scared of Marsh? What are your thoughts on White Sox stack in a single entry?
I prefer them as like one-offs. Like I mentioned, Jimenez. I don't mind Gavin Sheets. Don't mind Robert. Obviously, like a 3-man's okay. I wouldn't full 5-man them.
Okay, I think I'm reading this name right, but there's numbers that are supposed to be letters, and I don't know how to do that. But TJ, I believe Beetle Bump God says FanDuel, Montgomery or Marsh from Beetle Bump God.
Marsh by law. You can't play Montgomery.
Okay, and let me know if I did not properly do the 3 into an E. Power says TJ, DK, large field, Milwaukee or Washington, and if Washington, Ramirez or Young.
Washington, and I would go. I want to see what their lineup is, but basically, I would probably go Ramirez unless Young gets a good lineup spot because Thomas is gone. And so if you see Young near the top of the lineup, it's him because he's less likely to get pinch hit for.
Okay. Is Mark? Oh no, we did that one. TJ, Margot Melendez or Harold and Renfro, or perhaps it's Margot versus Melendez, Harold versus Renfro.
Melendez Renfro if you can do it. Melendez Renfro if you can do it. If not, the second one.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, Tim, one-off Kellenich or Texas Smith.
Kellenich.
Okay, very good. Hey, we've hit the lock. Hollow Bone says 1999 is going to be 2 Chick-fil-A tenders soon. That's the thing, man. Everything is getting so expensive. Every little thing is so expensive. The one thing that is not is RG membership. I don't know when the last time we upped the 3-day pass was. It feels like we need to curve with inflation, but we're not. So if you're not paying for RG Premium in any capacity, spend $20 and $19.99. Spend less than $20 and see what you think about it. And then you'll sign up for the long-term stuff. Okay, hey, with that, we have hit the lock. So good luck, everybody out there. According, that's what Derek says. That's what I say as well. So for TJ, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.